And we're live.
Yay!
On Facebook and YouTube.
Amazing.
So I am joined by Anna Clifford and Brian Gallagher. Gallagher or Gallagher?
Gallagher, yeah.
I think I got it right the
We
last time.
pronounce it correctly in Ireland. Yeah. Silent G.
Can you all hear yourselves apart from you?
I
You're
can
Yeah.
hear nothing.
I can hear myself, yeah.
Okay, I might just
Sounds like usual.
You love hearing yourself, though.
I do.
That's why you're a comedian.
That's why I got into
obviously.
comedy.
It's just you and your voice.
Yeah.
So drawing to a close in your performances at, well, I say performances, you stand up. It is a performance,
Well,
I guess.
Yeah, it's a show.
Let's not devalue comedy in the first 4 seconds of the podcast.
not starting off on the right foot, but yeah, it's coming towards an end with the Fringe. So
Yeah.
how has it been so far?
It's been great. It's been really good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you consider it good, an emotional roller coaster of despair. At times,
Yeah.
No, it has.
But
been
I
good.
think that's what you expected. Like, I went in with really like low expectations and
Yeah.
like thought like I've
For
heard
the
so,
Fringe.
so many horror stories about like how tiring it is and how nobody comes to your shows and nobody laughs. So I think like from where I set the bar,
Yeah.
which is like down here.
No, we both obviously
It
were
went
kind of
well.
worried, and I think I mentioned to you, like, it's total potluck at times. You're wondering, will you get a good room, a good venue? So we got our venue was a nice room, but we're a bit maybe off the main drag. Time was a nice time. Then can you get people there when you want them? And we were very lucky. Most of our shows were pretty full, so we're pretty happy with that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want. How does that work actually with booking the room? Do you have to like go back and forward with the guy that owns it, or?
You get allocated the room. So when you apply to the Fringe, the PBH Fringe, the one we're with, there's a few other organisations, but we're at PBH. So when you apply to that, basically then you kind of say how long a run you want to do. So
Yeah.
full run, 2 weeks, a week, whatever it might be. And they allocate rooms across all the offers.
Right.
So
You get to pick like a time slot, like morning, evening.
yeah,
or
time
you
slot
could
that suits
say-
you.
All right.
But then, like, you could get, there's no bad rooms, but you could get rooms that are like way off the beaten track mark, you know what I mean? So we were lucky, really. Time suited us, and the room was good, yeah.
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 It's funny you say that because my job, like I deliver beer for a microbrewery
Oh,
part
yeah.
time, and it takes me all over Edinburgh, and I'll just be in this little lane 5 miles from the centre, and it's like, oh, this is a Fringe venue, number like 1,000.
Yeah,
yeah,
or
yeah.
1001.
How can you have like? How does it even make sense?
When you consider they're having shows all day, like
Yeah.
some places like you did a compilation show there too as well. Remember that 11 a.m. show?
Yeah.
Like
11 a.m.
Yeah, 120 people every morning at 11 a.m.
Full, and some of them are drinking pints and all.
Yeah, full out the door. It's crazy. you
And
know.
they were laughing more than, well, the one I went to, they were laughing so much. And I was like, maybe it's just when when you get up and you're kind of still like a bit sleepy, like everything's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was.
it's
So
a maybe it's a
some
good
rooms are
time.
really
Like,
good. Some
yeah.
rooms really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you try and pick the time? Because I think it was like 6:15, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
went with eventually.
But
We
both of
needed
us
to
were
pick.
working.
Yeah,
Right.
we were working
Yeah.
a bit up here. We're not,
So
Oh, okay.
Anna did a
couldn't
week.
fully commit, yeah. So no, that's what you needed.
Yeah.
So lucky then you can do it both, right?
Yeah.
It's like we want to come up for the whole month.
You did a week and I did a week. So, or I'm doing a week right now. So that's why 6:15 was the most suitable time.
Yeah.
So if we were looking for different, we might have got a different venue at a different time. It might have been more central, but all things considered, we were pretty happy. I think.
Yeah, first Fringe, like, first
Yeah.
time up, so.
Well, the first time Brian was on, I hadn't been to see the show yet, and I think it came the next week. VIP passes, I may add.
Yeah,
So.
Obviously,
yeah,
yeah.
reserve seating in front.
Why is that a thing? Like all comedians say, oh, it's okay, you can sit up the front. There's not
Yeah.
going to be anything that happens. Like, do you find that people always do that?
They
Like,
hate the front,
Yeah.
but they do. Like people, because comedy short shows are known for people picking on the front, and I think sometimes it can work well, but I don't do it. Like,
No, I
or,
think. I think.
or nice to have a chat, but some people just don't want to have a chat, and then
Yeah.
you're very like, you are being eyed a lot, right? Like, because sometimes you need to look at people for certain stuff. So if they don't want that either, they must
Yeah.
want to be at the back, enjoying it without being like
Yeah.
hard. But if I go to anything, I'm always up front.
Yeah, but you love the.
I
limelight.
love the attention. Like, I want, I'm like, do you want to
Bring
just
me
swap?
on stage. Bring
tap
me on
out.
stage. Yeah.
just
You
bring
go
the
to
cage
yeah,
out.
yeah,
You
yeah,
need to go to the toilet. I can do tight 5.
yeah.
But like, yes, I think some comedians obviously ruined it for everybody way
Yeah.
back when they started picking, like really badly picking on front rows, and then now nobody wants to sit in the front row. Like,
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people gravitate towards the back, and then they'll fill the front.
Right.
So if you're not sure of your numbers for a show, and you're kind of going, oh, we might fill, we might not, you kind of like to say, oh, fill the front, because you don't want to be looking at
Yeah.
5 empty chairs, and then the audience starts there. It just feels a bit ridiculous.
I had a really bad somewhat bad experience on I think it was like a first date, and we went to the Fringe actually, and this girl and I went to see one of the panel hosts of 8 out of 10 Cats. I think it was not someone I remember his name, but the people were like, oh, just go down the front, you know, it's fine. Like he doesn't do any crowd work or anything like that. So we sit down the front, right? We could put our feet on the stage, and he literally did no crowd work the whole night, and the only joke he made that he picked on both of us, and the joke pretty much pertained about her, imagining her on the toilet earlier on that day because we were on like the first date, and she was mortified. Like, she was just like,
that's not what you want to be picturing on your first date with someone.
No. Second, maybe.
Yeah. Second,
not
round.
first.
Yeah. You know, you get past the third date, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's you don't want to get picked on. Nobody wants to get picked on, so that's why they tend to fill the back of the room first. But we've been lucky. We've had nice audiences, I think, haven't we? We've had no we've had maybe 1 or 2 audiences that were a bit quieter than others, but but still enjoyed the show. You know, so you get at the Fringe, you get all sorts of audiences. Like you get everything from people who are diehard comedy fans to people who are like, my bus is going to leave in 20 minutes. I'll just sit in here and see what this is about. So
I was trying to split a tenner so I could get the bus home.
Yeah. Trying to tenner in your bucket and then taking change back out, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's
10.50 back.
It's funny how Edinburgh adapts to the Fringe time, because all the shops start to change how they process customers and how, whether it's cash or not. And I've been in so many shops, and it's like they only take cash, like in card and stuff.
I've seen so many places here actually saying cash only.
Yeah.
So they're only doing that for the festival.
Yeah,
that's for
it's
tax.
crazy. Yeah,
of
course.
Money out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I only had my card at this point, and I was starving, so I threw all the stuff back in the wherever it went, you know, in a rage, because I was like, fuck, it only takes cash. And he's like, no, it's only for the people from
it's only for the tourists.
Like your passport or a letter from where you live.
Yeah.
Bank letter or something. Just move your address. There you go.
I'm from here.
You can use your card.
Just take my card. No,
I'm not even from here, so that's
But you
fine.
live here, right?
Yeah.
How long have you lived here?
A year.
Not a year. I thought it was long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it feels like a lot longer. Two Fringes.
Feels
now,
like
so.
I've been living here a year.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't actually even know what it's like on the outside
Fringe
world
time is
anymore.
weird, yeah.
You guys must spend a lot of time together. You know,
Too much, in fact.
How does that sort of come out towards the end of the Fringe? I mean, are you starting to get on each other's nerves?
Well, I don't think so.
No, I actually said that to somebody yesterday. I was like, I think we've been extremely lucky because, like, not that we knew each other for a bit before, but we've never ever spent this amount of time.
We never used to ride tandem bikes or go rowing together or anything like that. You know, there's little pedalos on the lake kind of stuff. We weren't that tight. You know what I mean?
Now we do everything together.
Yeah, we do everything together now. It's amazing, yeah. Except for washing our hair.
I don't wash my hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
I haven't washed my hair in like 2 weeks. But
No
like,
way.
Listen, like, there's not enough time in the day over here.
You know,
to wash my hair.
I mean, you seem to
I'm
wash your
alive.
beard every day.
Yeah, if I can wash this
No, he
beard, you
doesn't.
can wash your hair. Seriously.
You don't wash that beard.
Not fair. I do, yeah.
Is it those
Shampoo,
little
conditioner.
pocket
I can see a
shampoos?
bit of food that was there from the first day we came.
Is it the travel shampoos that you use? Or
Yeah, tiny little bottles. Yeah. 90 pence bottles.
you can only cover half yourself when you're in the shower as well.
yeah.
The soap as well. Just
You must be very fond of a good lather then. If
Me?
You only cover half yourself.
I do the thing where
Why can you only cover? Oh, with the travel ones.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
right,
like,
yeah.
you agree with that? Like, how much lather are you guys lathering
I
up
don't.
to cover half?
I only do the typical guy thing where
Yeah.
I cover like the pits and
Yeah.
then you know the
Yeah.
the bits down.
We know the other
Most important bits. The smelliest bits.
And I refused to spend money on shower gel, so I only use shampoo.
Right.
You know.
As shower gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes
Yeah,
sense. But would you never use shower gel as shampoo? Would that not make more sense
No, because
economically? Shampoo's more
I have
expensive.
really sensitive
Hair.
scalp and hair.
Have you?
So if I use anything other than Head and Shoulders, I just get that
Dandruff.
severe dandruff.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Even Tresemme.
I like Tresemme is my favorite. I like the smell of Tresemme.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I remember there was an ad for Head and Shoulders, and it was like Head and Shoulders beats dandruff every time.
Right.
Yeah,
When I was a
believe
child, I
that.
thought dandruff was a rival brand shampoo. I was convinced like that was great advertising. You know what I mean? We're better than you, dandruff. That's what I thought. It's not a
There's
joke.
ads
It's
where
just a
it was
sad
like snow
childhood.
on people's shoulders.
But there is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
thing that people tell each other when they're just dirty that if you stop washing your hair after, I think it's after like,
It, like,
6 weeks.
Washes itself.
Yeah.
Apparently. That's what I'm going for now.
Well, you're nearly there.
The natural oils take over.
Yeah, you're gonna find out soon.
I don't know. I said that in the pub the other day, and then no, it's true.
As
Like, it's
everybody
true,
whip
but like
your
whatever.
greasy hair over someone's
She
face.
told everybody in the pub that however long it was that she hadn't washed her hair. And literally everybody just kind of went, "Oh."
I mean, I washed myself, obviously, every day.
I should hope so.
Oh, listen. It's part of it, isn't it?
What happens
I
on the
just,
fringe?
like, what usually happens, like when I go to a festival, right?
Yeah.
They're usually just 3 days in the mud in the
Okay.
music, right? So I just got the same.
But you know, this is like a lot longer than
Yeah,
3
you
days.
have a house
Yeah, I
and
do
stuff
now.
with,
Yeah,
with
I do
washing
now.
facilities.
You know, we are a developed country as well.
Yeah.
No, I bought 2 big, massive bottles of Tresemme.
I was baby wipes.
Oh yeah, that's a good shower.
We call it. I don't know if there's an Irish equivalent, but there's something called a Dundee shower,
Dundee
which
shower,
is just
The
spraying
knacker
yourself.
shower, I think we just called it.
It's what. Well, you did it before you came on here. You spray yourself with deodorant.
Yeah, I
That's
did
it.
because
That was his first shower.
we, we mentioned this on the last podcast, but your stairs up to this podcast den is
Don't complain.
is pretty insane, to be honest with you.
It wasn't that bad. Like,
Well, it was bad.
does your gaff not at home not have stairs?
As an elevator.
You should use the stairs
Ding.
always.
These posh places that have elevators.
Yeah.
So posh.
Yeah,
I lived in one place that had an elevator, and it was literally called
probably an institution.
Royal.
Was
It was Capability Scotland, actually. It was the Royal Apartments, so
Right.
you can kind of
Maybe
imagine.
that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be
Fancy.
bad if it didn't have one.
And the only
Royal.
reason I was staying there is because it was my friend's mum that owned it, so it was crazy. Like, we were just living in
Nice.
an amazing apartment and just paying, I think it was like 300 altogether.
Wow.
Probably shouldn't be saying this on
That's
podcast, but we didn't pay much else.
And we took things when we left. We cleaned those bastards right out.
His mum.
It's always nice to have someone like that, isn't it?
Would be
For a
nice.
while.
Yeah, would be nice.
Is it sort of like the same back in Ireland, like the sort of setup when you're living in the inner city? Obviously, is it the high ceilings and sort of old buildings, or
No.
we spoke a little bit about this before,
No,
but
it's mostly there was a building boom like in the 90s, so most big apartment blocks and buildings in Dublin city centre would have been built in the 90s.
Right.
So they were built to like modern
okay.
standards, but so you wouldn't have nice high ceilings and they would have been all laid out pretty much identically to every other apartment. So it wasn't, so you don't get this kind of, there isn't a massive amount of inner city living in apartments like in Georgian buildings or anything, is there?
No, not really. No, these are really nice. This
Yeah.
is like there's gaffs like this in London.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have as
But
like,
no, the kind of newer stuff in Dublin
yeah,
city centre.
gone newer,
Then-
yeah.
So you live in
I
London.
live in London. Yeah.
Okay. How is it?
Lives in-
The,
it's
the
great.
big smoke,
The
as
big
they like to
smoke,
call it.
it's scary. It's so scary. No, it's grand. I love it. I love it. I like going over because you don't know anyone. Like, it's
Yeah.
massive. Like, you're not going to bump into anyone. If you're in Dublin and you go into city centre, you're going to bump into everyone you know.
Right.
Like people you just were in school with or someone
Right.
you haven't seen in 10 years. Like, no, you can no, I can't get away with not seeing
Just
someone
don't
you
talk
know.
to them. That's what I do.
I'm like,
Just
Yeah,
ignore
just-
them.
Have
no, I'm so bad at that.
Just get their
have to
name
stop
wrong.
and chat always.
You get someone's name wrong enough times, they'll stop saying hello to you.
Yeah.
You're like, Sean, Mary, Tom.
Stupidly small world, though. I was in the south of France, and it was really rural, and it's in the supermarché, and all I hear behind me is this Fife accent, and I was like, no way. Like, he was from like Scotland, obviously, and I was like, how can that be? It's like no one is here. There's not even French people in this part of France. And he's like, all right, Paul. There was only one queue, and he was behind me.
So the Scottish queue, is it?
It's the one where you can only pay with English money, obviously.
It's true.
I saw somebody on social media today, actually. You know them as well, Anna.
Trump.
I won't name them. But
Yeah, always.
but they're just coming over for a few days, and I really hope it's a joke. But they were saying they went to the ATM in the airport, and I was like, and it's great British pounds. Am I the only one who thought Scotland had their own money? And I was like, okay, that's
It's in the name. It's pound sterling.
yeah. But they thought like it was a different currency
Oh, okay.
in Scotland.
It
So
should
Scotland
be.
do have their own money, but it's the same
Yeah, but it's the
thing.
same thing.
I'm not sure what it would be if it was. Rupees, maybe that's a good one to take on.
Rupees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even my dad was like, he came over for a few days here, and then he was leaving, and he gave me like two £20 notes, and I was like, why do you mean that? And he goes, I just don't like the funny money.
The funny money.
But he meant it because it was like he comes to London a lot, but he didn't, because you can't use use Scottish money back in the UK.
No.
Back in England.
Yeah, we can.
You can, yeah.
It
You
just
can.
they.
Or Northern Irish money, they don't
Yeah,
take.
no, Northern Irish is weird because they don't take a lot of places because they've never seen it.
I've had
'Cause
some.
they don't know Northern Ireland exists half the time.
I've had some Bank of Ulster notes, and I've used them, and they accept them here. Some places, but I don't know if they
places
do.
I've
I think
been,
they take
told
them.
no,
They take them
so
in Scotland because
I think
there's
that's why I got-
quite obviously
Yay, up the English.
quite a connection between Scotland and Northern
I
Ireland.
took the
anyway.
funny money anyway. If you
I'll
think that's
take
funny money, I
any
will
money,
take that.
any
no
money
bother
you have.
anymore.
All the cash,
Hilarious.
Cryptocurrency, by any chance?
and particularly like cryptocurrency for its lack of traceability.
I can only imagine what websites you go to.
Well, yeah, everyone needs guns. You know what I mean? Everyone needs guns.
Everyone and their aunt has a gun in Ireland, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Under the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, shotguns.
Okay.
That's it.
You know your aunt's getting raided right now as we speak.
I have many aunts.
I don't even want to know. But it is a weird concept how we live so close to each other. Pretty much some of the countries are this part of the union, and obviously where you're from is not. But just crossing a border, you can't use a bit of paper to transfer for goods. It's so weird to me. Well, especially when you guys are connected by land. It's not.
Yeah, cross over.
Well, I mean, if you guys had
somebody
joined the
close to
Euro
the border
back in the day,
sometimes will.
Yeah, so like that's true actually. About maybe roughly 10 miles either side of the border in Northern Ireland and the Republic, they'll take both currencies. Working out the exchange rate, obviously, just to make life easier for people who happen to traverse the border. Now that'll obviously end soon when when you guys crash out and have a hard Brexit.
Yay! 20 maybe.
You'll never come back. You're stuck at home.
Listen, I'm grand.
Are you?
Yeah.
You sure? What if you get deported for being?
No, I won't because I
Be the
have an
paddy.
English passport as well.
You're
Get
gonna
out,
stay
paddy.
you're gonna stay in the big L, as they call it.
Yeah, I think so.
Not lesbian.
Yeah, the big
London.
L. Yeah, the big L.
The L word.
No, it's
Remember
nice
that
to
TV
live
show?
there.
The L word.
The L world. No.
It was like the female equivalent of Queer as Folk. Do you remember that one?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
probably
yeah.
too young.
Am I?
Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
you're
How
too
old
young,
are you?
Too young for
28?
Too young to
28? No way.
drink. Too young to drink.
What age are you?
I'm 32.
Oh,
See,
you look the same age as me. You look old.
Hey. That's a running joke with the entire Fringe, by the way.
It's the beard,
She
though.
drags it up in
It's
every
the beard,
audience.
honestly.
It's like,
You
yeah.
shave that beard, you look so youthful.
There's obviously some exchange of goods on the internet for you too. It's like, oh, he paid something for
I'll
her.
tell you what, one of these days I'll do a call out and I'll set up a GoFundMe and if just for me, like not for any charity, and I'll shave it off if I raise enough cash.
Well, yeah. We'll go on start now.
What?
Start it now.
What charity?
No, me, like
Oh.
me. Not for a charity.
Charity.
I am a charity.
Okay.
Yeah. So like fund Brian's next Fringe show, and we can theme it around like the loss of beard or something.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you just want me to shave the beard?
Yeah.
No.
How long have
No,
you
I
been
wouldn't.
growing it?
Oh, I don't know, 5 years.
Wow.
I don't know. It's a strange question.
Do you trim it?
Yeah, nobody ever asked how long you've grown your hair in your head,
Yeah,
or
but I
how
mean,
long it's been since you washed.
you've always
Most
had-
most girls I know say like, oh yeah, it's
But sometimes
4
if
years.
girls cut it short,
Yeah.
then it goes long. Like
Right.
I've just had long hair for a while.
Yeah,
Let's cut it. Let's see.
My hair.
you wouldn't cut it. I'd say.
We should do it live on the
The
podcast.
scissors would never.
If
cut.
anyone wants to see Brian, with
Yeah,
a
donate.
beard,
If anyone crazy enough out there
Oh my
listening to
God,
this
yes.
or watching this has 10 grand that they will transfer now, I will cut it off with this corkscrew.
I'll cut my
take a
hair.
while.
I'll wash my hair if anyone wants to transfer it.
Might get stranger requests coming through for that one.
Well, listen, I want the offers of whatever 10 grand is.
I'll
Is
take
that
the money. I'll take the
some
money.
obviously you're a younger female. I hate bringing this up, and it's nothing to do with being a comedian, but when you are doing fringe shows, is it something that you see happening, like guys sort of gravitating towards you when you're doing stand up?
I don't know. No, I've had like.
Because Brian made a joke about how it's going to be a bunch of 50-year-olds in the front row.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like.
You did have like 4 guys from Glasgow
I
who
did.
were looking for cocaine from you.
I
Remember that?
accidentally brought 5 lads down.
Accidentally.
Well, they were like, "Oh, we want they were like, where's a good pub? And I was like, trying to think for a second. And they're like, we just want cocaine. And I was like, well, this is a good pub, and I'll give you cocaine if you come. And then I was like, oh my God.
And then
what?
they came.
And then they came, and like, I was so scared because I thought we were going to be so rowdy. And they're
They're actually really nice.
Yeah.
They're really nice.
They're really nice.
And then at the end of my bucket
weren't.
speech, I was like, does anyone have any cocaine to pass, put in the bucket? Because
To
I've
give to the
accidentally
lads.
promised these guys. I know, I haven't found that too much here, actually. Thought that might be my favourite
More
of flyering.
yeah.
But I have had, like, I've mentioned that I'm single in my set sometimes. And I started when I lived in Canada. And Canadian men would come up to me after my gigs and hand me business cards.
That is so
And
Japanese.
be like, I've just seen you. Like, just so, like, I heard you mention that, right? And then English lads seem to come up after the gig and be like, all right, like, I've heard you say that, do you want a drink or something? And I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't like put myself out there. Irish lads just kind of like poke you on Facebook and then message you. Like, they're just too shy to even try. It's like,
In Ireland, it's as good as a real poke.
so yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Irish lads would be
It's
like,
just
hey, did I go to school with you?
Yeah, like, hey.
No, you're from a completely different
Yeah,
place.
they're
Oh, so I saw you doing comedy and thought you looked familiar. And start this like 9-week
Yeah, this
messaging
weird, like,
over that.
Are you
so
my
I think
cousin?
It's interesting, like, how different places, like,
react.
right on, like, Canadians just full
So
on, like, there you go.
weird. Poking people. Is that still a thing on Facebook?
Every now and again, I think it's
Is
so
it?
funny.
Can you still poke
You can
on
still-
Facebook?
People still poke.
I think I've been poked.
God, you have to
recently,
go out of your way
I've
to
been
poke
poked,
someone.
yeah, on Facebook more times than in real life. No, joking. My life on Facebook is way better. I have like 12,000 friends.
11,000 pokes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a North American that came up with that. Like,
Oh,
no
absolutely.
one in the UK would
Give
be
them
like,
a
oh,
nudge.
let's poke
Who would
people
say
on
it?
a
And
random
like, never
website.
once have you ever been like, oh my God. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
ever know that. You poked me. Thanks. Would you want to go
Thanks
for a
lot.
drink sometime?
Poke 'em back.
Yeah. It's like a sort of rudimentary form of, not grinder. I don't know what that
Freudian
is.
slip.
The other
Yeah,
one.
it's like probably the start of like how.
What's the other one?
Tinder, is it?
Yeah, Tinder.
Yeah.
Tinder.
Someone was like, these people keep poking me. I wonder if they're in love with me. And then they're like, I'll make an app where you
Yeah.
can
We
sort
can
of swipe.
Swipe, yeah. It's mad. I think either I read somewhere or did somebody tell me that I think somebody, this could be completely bullshit, but that one of the bigger dating sites created Tinder as
Is
a
it-
side project, and
Oh.
then
Like Plenty of
and it
Fish or
accidentally got too
Nice,
big and
yeah.
cannibalized its own original site, which was making more money originally or something.
It's not
Could
bad
be
though. if it
no,
works.
it's fine now, yeah, but at the time they were probably freaked out.
There was
weird
a
though,
lot
isn't
of those ones around, like early 2000s.
Mm.
Like, what was the one with the fish? There was
Plenty of fish.
plenty of fish.
I think people still use that.
They do, yeah.
That's so weird. I mean, I think my dad used it at some point to meet
Yeah,
someone.
like OK Cupid and stuff.
But I always thought it was really mental because you could go, like, there's loads of dating sites out there where people pay money to join, right? And I would imagine that if you were like, okay, not like Tinder where you're just looking to hook up, but if you were looking looking for a relationship and you're like, I'm not meeting anyone, I want to meet really nice people to be in a relationship with, would you not think like paying would make it more? There's commitment on both sides that people are really looking for
Yeah.
something serious,
Yeah.
as opposed to people. I don't understand people going, "Oh, I was on Plenty of Fish. Oh, it's nothing but dick pics." What do you expect? It's free. Of course, it's nothing but dick pics. Like that's what you're gonna get in the free site.
Have you heard of Bumble?
Yeah.
It's like it's women have to make the first
I'm on
move.
Bumble, but
So-
I've never been on a Bumble date. but
You're on
People
Bumble.
won't make the
I'm on
first move.
Bumble. I'm on
Hey,
it.
I'm a comedian. Wanna bang? Is that what?
No, that's what one time people like
Is that what
you
you
have
message?
your like you have your like your profile up or links to like whatever photos you do in stand up or something, and then I think I started. It's like it's hard. I give it up for the lads like who like you have to always make the first move most times because like having to be the first one to start a conversation.
Yeah.
I hate it. So I was just like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh my God, is that your opening line? And I was like, like, because you have to try and be something witty or something. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to know.
Clever.
where
Just
you
send them an
are.
audio recording of one of your sets.
I just didn't reply, to be honest. Or then sometimes people are always like, tell us a joke. And I'm like, then I don't reply either.
There is nothing worse than
That's
that.
terrible.
I know. I should just make one up to be able to give it back. I'm
The
not
only thing
arse.
worse. The only thing
I'm
worse
not very
than
good at
telling
it.
me
I
a
go on
joke-
them for a bit of like,
Yeah.
to get a match for a bit of like dopamine hit. And then I'm like, okay, that was nice. I'll go
Dopamine,
off
yeah,
to the
yeah,
real
yeah,
world.
It's probably good for material as well.
Yeah.
Like you can mind like people, messaging you
Yeah. it's
with like
this is
3
just for
eyes.
material.
Material.
Yeah. No, now take your stuff and get out of my apartment.
My low ceiling apartment.
Yeah.
callback.
Nice.
God, you could tell you.
You know the
We should give him
tricks.
5 minutes on our last gig. We'll give him 5 minutes.
Yeah, come down tomorrow because we're like running out of steam.
Yeah, we're
You
really
can-
burning out.
I'll do one. A solid one.
A solid 1
Like
minute.
all things in my life, I can do one solid
One
do
minute.
solid
like
minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
You can get them in a minute.
Yes.
And do a callback at the same
Yeah,
time.
I can get them and lose them in a minute.
That's what we can do.
Skill.
Repeatedly over 30 minutes.
We have to do 25.
Can we have another beer over here?
Yeah, let's have a beer. Yeah.
We should probably cheers because it's bad luck.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I don't know if you've heard
We
this.
just went straight into it.
Is it bad luck? Is it?
Is it? Cheers.
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 Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Mazel
Lahaim.
something. L'chaim?
What they say after? It's in that song.
L'chaim.
It's in that song.
Dreidel,
How
dreidel,
did I know
dreidel.
you'd know how to pronounce that correctly?
It's in.
Of course you
what's
would.
it? It's in the Black Eyed Peas and like Mazel tov. Lahaim.
Is that your only way of working
Wow.
Jewish words out?
I was
Is
gonna
from
say,
the
yeah.
Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
obviously
and
they teach you
Anna's-
a lot. Hello, where's the love? Like, where is the love?
And his entire cultural view of the world is via Black Eyed Peas songs. That is amazing.
Well, like it's all pretty much all cultures are in Black Eyed
Yeah,
Peas. There's a guy who's black but thinks he's Native American. I guess is there?
Yeah,
There's a guy that is black,
yeah.
but he's a bit, I don't know, suspect.
Well, I am.
He's a bit more white than black. You know,
Right.
he's-
Freddie
well,
Ferd.
I am Big Willie style.
Oh, Will Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
No,
sorry.
Willie.
No.
Well, I am.
Will I
Oh,
am.
well, I am.
Yeah.
I thought you were like Will Smith. Big
No,
Willie
yeah,
style.
the
You
Big
remember
Willie,
that
yeah.
song you had once? I have no idea. I'm tired.
I'm confusing my black people.
Will I
which
am
is
Will I am not
not
just
good.
No, it's really not. Will I am he's like isn't he now like a futurist designer type person as well? He just comes up with concepts now. That just
I could do that. Like I could
Sorry.
just go. This, my face is a concept.
Yeah.
Deal with it. You know.
Yeah.
Or one day all things will be different, and people go, Jesus, that's
You know what?
just he's unreal, isn't he? Unreal.
With these type of guys, I always say throw enough shit at a wall and some of it will stick.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be revered after he's dust, and he'll be like, "Oh, this one thing about the whole thing that he said was right."
What's the same with
Yeah.
people who make predictions like all those like Nostradamus type predictions? Like, nobody ever reads out the 27,000 things they said that never happened. They'll go on about the one thing that vaguely sounds like it might have been the Twin Towers or Princess
Yeah.
Diana. You know what I mean?
Two serpents falling from a tree.
Yeah.
Twin
Yeah.
Towers.
Yeah.
Wasn't that was Adam and Eve? Talking about Adam and Eve. The apple, the big apple. Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's in the Bible.
That's
It
it.
was in the Bible.
You've
Ridiculous.
just made Nostradamus come true.
Yeah, I've just actually proved the Bible. That's incredible.
I wouldn't. I mean, there's probably a long time in between these two people, but do you not think Nostradamus
Yeah.
and who's the guy that you look like?
Oh, Rasputin.
Yeah, wouldn't they be?
Thanks for raising
Wouldn't
that.
they be friends? Wouldn't you think?
Would they?
Yes.
Yes, I've decided. Maybe they would be.
Yeah.
Maybe they would. Yeah, Rasputin. Like, I mean, I hate being compared to Rasputin, so thanks for raising that again. Rasputin. Yeah, he was he? Did he survive death? Was he killed by the royal family?
Yes, he was.
And then did he?
After
but he
you
didn't
came
die.
on the podcast and you mentioned that people call you Rasputin, I saw it obviously, so I went on a whole wormhole on YouTube.
on Rasputin.
And it was about
I don't know much about Rasputin. It's a song.
Ra
Ra, Rasputin.
And again,
doesn't mention at the end of the song
there
that
isn't
he
a
had a
song about
massive
it, Anna's
cock.
like-
I know.
What are you
Yeah, I'm
talking
like,
about?
what is that song?
Doesn't mention in the song that he had a tree stump for a penis.
Did
tree
he?
stump
Yeah.
Jesus, like him
This
better
is how
now.
he mesmerized people.
Fucking hell.
Like people thought it was his
Okay.
hypnotic eyes. It was you just pulled out his dick.
That's
and
not
then-
bad. Someone to be like
That's-
associated with then.
well, you know if I can. It's definitely not a tree stump.
Twig.
Fucking branch, all right? A branch. There was
Baby Groot.
just there was
Stump.
a guy. I was in New Zealand once, and you just reminded me of this. I was in New Zealand once, and I was in a bar, and he was a Scottish guy actually. I completely forgot this story. He was a Scottish guy. I think it was St Patrick's Day. We were in this pub. A few of us were all drinking and having the crack. I was like maybe 1 o'clock in the day or something. We were drinking all morning, and this guy was there in a kilt from Scotland. It was St Patrick's Day.
I
And he was kind of
assume.
trying to attach himself to St Patrick's Day, right? Because he'd flaming ginger hair and was
Okay.
wearing a kilt.
Yeah.
So other Americans and Canadians, whoever were all in this pub for St. Patrick's Day in New Zealand, they were like, "Oh my God, it's St. Paddy's Day! Look at you!" And he was like, "Aye, whatever, whatever Scottish people say." And then he he came over to us and he was like, really drunk, and he was like, guys, you know, we were young, like, he was like, you guys are pretty fucking guys. I'm not a pretty man, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a northern accent. I'm not a pretty man. He goes, and he wasn't a pretty man, to be fair. He was correct in that. He said, but I've got something that they all want. And we were like, okay, right, grand. Then he walks up to the bar, and like there was 6 women completely ignoring him, right, because he was drunk, number one. And he was trying to talk to them, and they were like going, yeah, And then he literally lifted his hands, and they all went, oh, hey, hi. And he was like, apparently he was like huge, like Rasputin.
It's like that. But why is that a thing that would just have like women being like, oh, you know, it's like money. It's like, oh, no, I'm not like
well, I can understand the
stereotyping.
money more.
But there are gold diggers out there, obviously.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not generalizing.
You know that song too?
Or I am, but
you know that song
know
too?
there is, yeah.
I am saying she's a gold digger.
Yeah, I do. That's a song, yeah.
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 Just to bring it back to the musical theme. Yeah.
But there was the guy. Do you remember the guy from New York who had supposedly the world record for the longest penis?
I think there was some weird documentary about him.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard.
Anything about a long penis is going to be a weird documentary.
yeah. It's not gonna be a news item.
But he would just go to clubs in the underground of New York, and he would be like, "Oh yeah, I've got the biggest dick in the world," and women would just flock to him because it was like a sort of freak show. They wanted to see
novelty,
if it was
yeah.
Yeah.
But he says he had
Interesting. It's like
male
women with big
celebs,
tits, right?
male celebs,
suppose, yeah.
females. No,
Not
that
the
does
same
nothing
thing, but
for me.
Does it not?
Fake, yeah, the
No,
fake
not
ones.
Not fake.
Oh
like
right,
just
okay.
tits,
Yeah.
like
No, yeah, okay.
Women are attracted to
well, in
men's
general,
penises.
obviously, yeah.
I've never went, oh, fake tits, and been like,
Yeah.
Have you not?
no,
Lots of people do though.
woohoo,
Fake ones?
retarded people.
Yeah, I feel like
I
there's
used
a
that
lot of
word.
retarded lads out there, like, and
Really?
yeah, definitely.
I know the fake ones. I don't get it.
So yeah, he said that a lot of male celebs and female celebs were just took him back home. And now he's like all sad because there's a guy
They
from
took
South America
both
that's
from
like,
bigger
I've got
one.
the biggest penis. And he's like,
Like, he's got the second biggest penis.
Should make them fight.
What do you mean
with
they
their
took him home?
penises.
Like, what do you mean they took him home? Like, is he a
Yeah,
prostitute?
yeah.
Yeah, he basically was, you know,
Yeah.
when he was younger. He was a guy with a sex drive, I guess. If you have a massive penis, you're going to have that, I guess.
And with men and
But
women.
but he was saying it's so large, he couldn't use it properly.
Unusable,
Yeah.
I think I've read something about that guy already.
It cuts to
Think I've heard
you
about
at
that.
home, man with world's biggest
Yeah.
penis.
I think it's still opens. No.
On a first date, just googling.
I think I saw several videos about that guy on YouTube and on X Hamster.
Oh, none of us know what that is. I'm sorry, Mom. My mother's listening to this podcast.
Okay,
She's watching it live now.
She is, yeah.
so you've only got a couple of days left of the
We only have
Fringe.
2 shows left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it? Is it good to see the end in sight, or
Yeah, it is. It's weird too,
It
though.
is
We're
nice,
just talking
yeah.
about it today, though, weren't we? It was a bit like
I
gotta go
feel
back to the real world.
Yeah,
which is
so
Yeah.
I
odd.
got a bit of like a sense of like anxiousness today because I was like, oh crap, like it's all coming to an end. Like
Gonna have
you're
to
looking
wash
forward to
your
like a
hair.
little break. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wash my hair. Oh my god, I'm gonna have
Which
to
is
go
like-
home.
but
But then
it's-
everything else starts again.
Yeah.
You have to go back to like
It's reset, and it's like the rest of the
Normality.
world doesn't know.
it's just that come down, isn't it? After like
Yeah.
any kind of big event
Yeah.
that you've been working
Yeah.
so hard towards, and you put all
Yeah.
your time and effort into
Yeah.
here.
Then you go back to normality, and everybody else hasn't done anything different
Yeah.
as such, and they're like going, "Oh hey," and you're like, "Yeah, back from the Fringe." Like, "Grant, so do you want a coffee?" Or you're like, yeah, it's like it's over now, and nobody gives a shit.
what's
So
the
it's-
Fringe?
Yeah.
It's terrible if you're going back to a hometown that you grew up in as well, and you say you've done something fantastic, and then you go home and everyone's
don't
just
wanna know.
doing the exact same.
Oh yeah.
You know.
They don't want, and they're like, yeah, great, okay, now shut up, let's go back in here to
That
the pub.
that always scared me. Like I always thought, I'm not gonna get caught up in this cycle because I come from a really small
Yeah.
town. I mean, it's small, the like mileage wise, but it's the most densely populated town in Scotland. So it's a lot of people, and I was like, oh, this guy's had a kid and got married and stayed in this
Yeah.
little town, and it's just like
People in
that,
the league,
that
yeah.
really freaks me out.
That's why I'm from a small village in Dublin, and it's really nice. It's like a nice community, and I loved growing up there. But then I moved to Canada for 2 years, and I
Right.
live in London. And when I go back, there are some people that never travelled or never left, and I'm like almost jealous of them sometimes now
Yeah.
because I'm like, they're so content, like it's of doing the same thing and staying in going the same night out all the time. We always have fun, but it has been the same night out since you were like
I always find that weird
and stuff. So you're kind of like, oh, I'm kind of jealous of like.
And then you're on stage
wanting
with like
to be
50
here,
people laughing at you, and you're
need,
like, fuck that.
People to laugh at me, and I need to live in new places to feel like in any way like.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a habit of doing that. I like press the reset button every couple of years. Like, go, reset, something completely different, something completely new. Could be a place, could be a job, could be anything. And then
it seems like there's a creative hub coming up in Ireland at this moment. You know, I think the Tri Channel's like a big thing like that, and there's a lot of sort of. I think it's one thing that's missing from Scotland, apart from the Fringe. We don't have that energy and that creativeness that's going to create Scotland's own identity in art that way, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do like Scottish people try stuff.
But I'll just name it like just spell it slightly wrong.
T-R-I.
The Tri Channel.
People doing shit.
Eating haggis.
I'm sure there is a big market out there for just videos of people eating haggis.
Yeah, rotten.
Probably.
Disgusting.
We're all jaded by it, so no one
haggis.
would watch it. It'd be like, I've seen 1 billion old guys after the pub eat haggis, so I'm not going to watch it.
Disgusting.
Is there anything, well, obviously with your experiences with being in the Fringe, is there anything that's different and surprised you, even though it's, you know, the UK, but Scotland and specifically Edinburgh, food habits or
slowness of service in bars?
Slow.
Massively different to home. Massively different. Now maybe that's because it's a big Fringe and staff are all new or something. I have no idea. But like a lot of bars, it's like incredibly slow service.
Right.
To the point of absolute like, what are you doing? I could go in there and have served your customers for you and myself and then pop back out again. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's very busy. But I think I've been up here. I've been first time performing at the Fringe for the whole month, but I've been here 3 or 4 times before. So I kind of knew what to expect from it. But you know, you don't meet lots of Scottish people when you're here.
No, you don't. No.
So I don't feel like I'm getting the full Scottish experience.
Right.
It's such a beautiful town, and I've met plenty of Scottish people and I have Scottish friends and stuff like. So I know you're all legends. But that should be nicer if there was a few of you around. If during the
Fringe, a bit too nice to him, to be honest, Anna. I think all right.
No, that's all right.
You know what I mean?
No, but it would be nice.
I'm actually left-handed.
I think I want to go. Yeah, I want to go some other places in Scotland.
You know his girlfriend's from Canada.
I know. Yeah. I love Canadians as well.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
Specifically one.
Yeah, that's so nice. Yeah.
And all the Canadians, because they're all just amazing.
Well, they are the nicest people.
They're boring, though. They're
boring.
boring.
After the Irish, and then Canadians, and
they're
then
very
Scottish.
boring now. They're very boring.
Yeah.
No, they're not. You just have to find the ones that are match your.
There is such a thing as too nice.
Too nice, yeah.
There is. When I was living in Canada, I used to serve loads, so lots of people would always be like, "Oh my God, we love your accent." And then one group of lads were like, "We love your accent. What do you think of ours?" And I was like, "It's nice." Like, that's just not what you want to hear, is it? It's not like nice is not really a compliment, is it? Because you're like, it's nice.
It's a filler, isn't it? Nice.
When I lived in Toronto, someone was like, "Oh yeah, you don't have like a thick accent." And I said to this girl, it was like, "Oh yeah, your accent's pretty understandable." And she was like, "We don't have. I don't have an accent."
Oh yeah, I don't have an accent. I'm like, what?
They're so stupid. And that drives me bananas.
Usually it comes from America as well.
Americans do as well, yeah.
Oh, I don't have a fucking accent.
Do I detect an accent? Oh, wow, you're like a fucking detective, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And they don't have an accent. Like, of course they have an accent. They're so stupid.
Everyone has an accent.
Like, you even have accents within your country. Like, you're not just going to be, not filling in for the accent meter.
It's annoying when people say you don't have an accent, or that like they said to you, like, your accent isn't very thick. You're like, no, shut up, like.
Yeah.
Even one of your friends last night was like, oh, talking about our show, that was like, oh, you've got 2 great Irish accents, and I'm like, Brian, you've got the culchy one, and I was like, it's a real Dublin thing to say, culchy.
What does it mean?
Because everyone outside
culchy's anybody outside of Dublin.
So it's generic.
Like there's no like diversity whatsoever outside of Dublin. It's just culchies and Dublin people. So
and the gene pool as well.
I hope she's listening to this and feeling bad. No, she couldn't give a shit, could she? Because she's a dub.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give a fuck.
But like you were saying about Edinburgh, it doesn't really correlate to the Scottish experience, like you're saying, because it's very insular as well, and especially with the Fringe, you're only seeing a very specific part of it's basically hosted in a city. It wouldn't matter where it was.
And we're very annoying. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're performers who are here for the Fringe.
Yeah.
We're on the streets, we're running around, we're taking up space, we're trying to flyer, we're postering where we shouldn't be postering.
When you said on the streets, I was just imagining you prostituting yourself.
LadyBeard.
Yeah.
£5. £5.
Rah, Rasputin.
Or pay what you think.
£2.
Pay what you think it's worth.
£2, yeah.
For you.
I probably would have made more money at that than the
comedy.
comedy.
Probably get more laughs, to be honest. I'm kidding.
I'm telling you, give
You're
this guy-
hilarious.
Give this guy 5 minutes in our last night. I'm telling you. 5 minutes. 5 minutes of us booing at the back. Like,
Yeah.
boo.
We'll heckle.
Just you guys. Like,
Shit.
oh, there's no one else here, but you just closed it early.
Firing cans at you and stuff, yeah.
Boo.
No, I think it would be very frustrating. Like, if I know I've got friends who live in Galway, which has massive arts festival every year as well. And it's pretty big, and it keeps getting bigger. And they all want to get out of town sometimes because it's just so intense. If you're trying to live your day-to-day life, your normal life, like going to work, taking kids to school, whatever else you have to do, or taking kids to different things, and just living, be very hard with people all over the place, and traffic jams, and people and walking the streets, and whatever else. I think it must be really frustrating to live here.
Yeah.
What about London? Have you adapted well to London?
I think I have. Like, I'm a horrible person now, so that's good.
Are you doing
No.
Are you doing sets? Obviously, you're working your sets in London.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Try and gig like 2 or 3 times a week.
That's cool.
And then I'm working at the minute as well, and yeah, just enjoying it. Like, it's it's a great city. There's stuff on all the time. At every corner of it's massive.
Really easy to get
but
around
it's
as
easy
well.
to get around. Yeah, it's not like
Really?
waiting for a bus in Dublin. Like, you'd be waiting for an hour. Yeah.
It's easier
Like,
to get around
you
London
don't go
than
anywhere
Dublin.
in Dublin. Like, so London, people always complain about it, but like, it's non-stop moving. So I don't mind traveling an hour somewhere because you're on the move.
Yeah.
Where just waiting is just the worst. So yeah, I have family in London, so it's not like a massive move. And then after living in Canada and stuff, you can just fly home for a little cry if you want.
Yeah.
So you know, yeah, 20 euro Ryanair flight home.
That's one of the big difference between.
Don't just cry on
Have a
Skype.
cry?
Be cool.
I do. No, my poor mother. Yeah.
This is your poor mother.
She just has a filter, which is like a cry emoji.
Yeah,
That's all.
it's like that. Like, are you all right? And I go, send money. Like,
I heard you were a drama student, so.
I love the dramatics.
I know.
That is one of the major differences between here and mainland Europe is the public transport system. Like, some of the places I've been to, it's just insane. And the price as well. When I was in, I think, Berlin, you pay like just pittance
So
to get
cheap
round
for
the whole
everything.
place, you know.
Yeah. Berlin's nice, like,
Yeah.
they've done it right. They've like capped their rent and stuff.
No,
and
that
done-
is like
yeah,
a huge
travel.
thing that they're doing, yeah. In Toronto and Canada, they're just, all these Chinese businessmen are buying up all the apartments and hiking the prices.
They do that in Vancouver as well, and they're all empty.
Is that not one of the most expensive places to live?
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
To buy, I don't think you'd be able to buy. Like, I just rented, but you wouldn't be able to. Most of my friends that actually are from there, they're like, I probably can't live in this city.
Did you go to, is it Vancouver Island?
Yeah.
With the
Vancouver.
whales?
Yeah, I went whale watching.
Not the country, but the actual...
Yeah, the actual.
Nobody wants to watch the Welsh. Like.
Yeah, I just went watching loads of Welsh people.
Did you go and
Speak
see...
funny.
I was going to say Christian Bale, but he's not on the Welsh team. It's the other Bale.
Christian Bale. Gareth Bale.
I'm a football player.
Gareth Bale, is it?
He really dropped weight for that game, didn't he? Look
I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Swear to me.
Give this man 10 minutes on our last show.
I swear to God. Swear to me.
More beer.
Vámonos, muchacho. But did you... Yeah, Vancouver Island.
Vancouver Island is like not an island because it's like bigger than it's bigger than Ireland.
Vancouver Island is bigger than Ireland.
Yeah.
I thought it was like this little place off
No,
Vancouver.
so did I. So I say
Wait a minute. Are you saying Vancouver Island is not Ireland or
no.
an island?
I mean it is an island obviously because it's called Vancouver Island, but like it's the same size as Ireland, or if not bigger. It's massive. It's fucking massive.
So it would be like
The
English people saying,
Rasputin of the islands.
Yeah.
like English people saying we're going to go to Ireland Island.
Yeah, we're going to
Ireland
a little
Island.
island off of England.
That's mad.
That'd be horrible.
I
No.
learned it. What song did you learn that in? Or was
What?
that in a song?
Yeah, it was
Let me take you to Vancouver
Not
Island.
Yeah, I went there. That's fun. There's
Didn't see the whales.
I did see the whales. I went whale watching. Like I went on a boat specifically to find the whales. And
What
I
kind of
found
whales?
them.
What kind of whales were they?
Blue?
What?
Killer?
What
Killer
kind-
whales
kind of
are up
whales?
there.
Killer whales. Yeah.
Killer
You've
whales.
seen killer whales.
Free Willy, like, oh, go on.
Don't want to talk about your Bumble
It's a running,
dates.
it's a running theme in this podcast
Yeah,
tonight,
well,
isn't
I went
it?
on the boat trying to be like, the Bumble Day said to be mute me out here.
Tag.
That was fun though.
That joke needs work.
But yeah, it's all work. It's just work in progress.
It needs more penis and less whale.
Had a whale of a time.
Brian out.
I'm a fan of puns. I'm a huge
I
punster.
love puns.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'll leave you to it.
A
Like.
ba-
My friends
a
back
big
home, they
part
call
of
me
my-
a pun hun.
a pun hun.
Yeah, pun hun.
Yeah,
Is this how you started off in your comic career? It's just
Yes.
making puns.
Yeah, my brother and my dad are big into puns as
Okay.
well, so it comes a competition if you're at our dinner table.
It's the
like,
same. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny.
What's the best pun your dad's ever come up with?
Oh, no, I don't
Pun
know.
hun.
Yeah, he calls me pun hun. No, it wasn't my dad. I don't know. I can't think now. Like he's quite. My dad's gas because he laughs at his own jokes a lot. So
Well, it's dad
it's
jokes.
enjoyable when you people
Yeah.
see, isn't it? When you
Yeah.
see someone you know just going, "You love that
Well,
one."
you
Like,
have, I won't
There
tell
is
you-
like a weirdness to dad jokes.
Yeah.
Like they just love their own jokes, and they
Yeah.
have
Anna-
that like
Anna
they
has
have
one
like
joke she loves.
What?
You know that joke you do? I won't say what the joke is in the set, but Anna has one joke
Yeah,
because
it's
I've been
just for
watching.
me.
Because I've been watching her, obviously doing the set for the entire run every day. There's one joke Anna has that her face just lights up when she delivers the punchline, and she's like literally going. Because you love it so. It's so funny. It's funny. I laugh at the fact that
And
you're laughing
nobody
at your
else
joke.
finds it that
It's
funny.
very good.
So, one thing I wanted to bring up after seeing your show, I don't want to give too much away of the bit, but did you live in a house with how many Iraqis or
Yeah.
Iranians or
15 Iraqis. Yeah.
is
I did.
this true?
Yeah. It is
Really?
True. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Where was it
It
again?
was in New Zealand, but
Okay.
in the purposes of comedy, I say Australia. It was New Zealand, yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of comedy obviously is based on facts. So not everything in the set is true. Obviously, it's exaggerated. But I did share a house of 15 Iraqi guys, and yeah,
That's
they were great guys.
crazy.
Yeah, they were great
Yeah.
fun. But the thing I find funniest about that set is that like it's true.
Yeah.
It happened. I live with them. I name off all the guys that I was
Yeah.
living with. That's their names. And like you'll have people in the audience occasionally, like one or two, particularly young women generally,
Okay.
particularly young women from America or Canada generally are the ones who will have this kind of eyebrow raise, going, should we be offended now? Is this like you should be no more offended than if I said I shared a house with 15 guys from Kerry.
Yeah.
And they were
Totally.
called Pat, Tom, John, Jim. Like it's not inherently
Yeah,
wrong.
because there's a bunch of combination of things there that makes it one of the most benign things. Like you're in New Zealand with a bunch of, is it
Just sharing a house with people,
Iraqis, 15 people living together and you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like,
Well, like it's like, there was other people there as well. Obviously, it was quite
The
a
wives?
quite a crammed house. Like,
did they have 72 wives each?
No, they
Okay.
didn't. That's for later. No, they didn't. It was just there was maybe other guys and girls from Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 of us in total, and then all these 15 guys. It was a huge place.
Yeah.
But we all worked in the same place. That's how we ended up living in this company house together, kind of thing.
Okay.
And they were all really cool guys, yeah. But I just find it really funny that it's a benign story, but that sometimes people perceive it to be different because they
Yeah.
assume if you're using a name from another country
Yeah.
that all of us, which is their own unconscious bias. It's not actually anything I'm saying that's wrong. Which
I think
find
it's a
great.
joke that goes down really well in Scotland because we don't have any preconceived notions about Muslims in general. It
Yeah.
seems to be an English thing or
true, yeah.
a European
Yeah.
type thing. So that's something I thought that was hilarious when you revealed the joke about the dance floor.
Yeah,
and
I
I
love
could
that one.
I
It's
could
a
hear
great
it
one.
coming,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was still hilarious
Yeah,
when it
'cause
landed.
it's like that's one of the ones that you
I love that
actually
joke.
want
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to be right about the ending.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
way,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you want to be like,
I love that joke.
oh.
Yeah, it's great.
I think I read somewhere recently about just to reference Scotland there. Like I read that I think some senior intelligence sources in the UK were saying that they weren't really worried about an attack in Scotland because of the great job Scottish government had done on integrating communities and
Yeah.
how everybody's just
Yeah.
people. Everyone's just living here together, like as opposed to England where it's maybe a bit more divided.
Yeah.
I thought that was just an interesting thing to learn, and then that plays on obviously to how Scottish audiences take some of my stuff, which is obviously Muslim themed. So it was interesting that they like that. They like that stuff here. They're not as kind of wondering, is it one way or the other way?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
That was definitely an aspect of your set that surprised me. Like, I wasn't sure going in. I knew you did like a religious and politics the side of things, but I didn't know it was going to be specifically about that. But it was great. It was good to see you, because you have your own experiences with it.
Yeah.
So you're able to tell.
It's lived experience. It's real stuff. It's real people. And then obviously you exaggerate and you add stuff to it to make it funny or whatever.
But that definitely came across like it was an actual experience.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to like you're a hateful.
Yeah, like a thought about someone else. Or something. You're like,
tell you another thing about Muslims. No, it's like no.
Is there a mirror image of that situation, either of England or Scotland, with Muslims in Ireland?
What you mean in terms of how integration wise and stuff like that? I think Ireland is
similar to either
Scotland,
England?
much more similar to Scotland, I would say. Yeah, much more. I think we probably have a smaller community, and I'm just again pulling that out of my ass because I don't know the numbers, but I think we have a smaller community, but much more integrated and much more open in terms of people knowing each other and living and working together and stuff. And like Irish people are pretty laid back. Like I don't think anybody really gives a shit. Obviously, there's racism everywhere. And there's like intolerance everywhere, but in general, I think Ireland's pretty laid back and
mainly comes from within.
Yeah.
For Ireland, yeah.
I don't think anybody really is too bothered, and I think integration-wise, it's pretty good by European standards. Yeah,
it's funny how cultural-wise that's something that Ireland and Scotland share. I've talked about this and sort of thought about it in depth. The difference between Scotland and Ireland. Not Scotland and Ireland, but Scotland and Ireland together, and England, the differences, the way, because there's a lot of scaremongering in England, but I think it's one of the ways I've described it is that take gay people for example. The reason it's so relaxed in Scotland is not because we're all for gay rights. It's like we just don't care. Like, we just don't care. It's like I don't care if you're gay.
Yeah, why would Ireland's like that too. I think there are people obviously who are like advocating for gay rights and equal status, and we had the marriage referendum and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But I think largely people just in Ireland are like, well, just mind your own business.
Yeah, just do what you want to do.
I don't care what you like.
Yeah,
and I have a piece in my set as well about American racism versus like Irish racism and. Like, just why would you get the energy to give a shit that much about other people's lives is completely beyond me. Like, you don't have to agree with everything somebody else does or believes in, but you don't also have to object to it. Like, just mind your own business, Like, Anna, you can wash your hair whenever you want.
Thanks, I will.
You mind your own business.
My hair washing is my own business.
So, did I see on Instagram you posted that you'd been added to the Vodafone Comedy Festival?
We have.
Is this
and
it?
Brian's
Both
been
of
on
you?
as well, actually,
Is it the LadyBeard
Yeah.
full experience?
We've been asked to do LadyBeard on the 27th of October in the Vodafone Comedy Carnival, which is in Galway.
Bring in the show.
Galway's a lovely city.
Congratulations.
You did that last year. I did
it last year. Yeah, I did a spot at it last year, and so we're both doing individual shows at it as part of compilation shows, and then we're doing LadyBeard as well, which is great. Yeah, really nice to be asked. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
so nice.
How did that come about?
Well, I think just from doing the show here, filling the room, and doing well, and I think I think word got back about that element of it. We were booked individually to do the festival, I think, on the basis of our work in Ireland and London on the circuit, and then I think when they saw that the show LadyBeard was doing so well, they were like, here, do the LadyBeard as well.
For you.
Which is a nice vindication of hard work.
And it's nice I feel like it's nice to, because like I was saying today, is the third last day, and you kind of got to a lull, like, because you put so much into it.
Sorry.
All of it. Sorry. I was getting caught up in that earlier, pouring my wine. You kind of
poor wine.
Yeah, listen, that's what I need.
Continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Prosecco even. Well, we're nearly there. I'm drinking the Prosecco now until we're finished.
Man's playing over you. Sorry.
But it's nice to have something to look forward to again. Like another. It's a festival at the end of the day for a week on and Galway, and just kind of keep the spirits up and be like, hey.
So
here we go.
The comedians that are on the sort of, not doing the big venues or whatever, do they use the Fringe as a jumping off point to get onto other things? Is it like, I've done this, we've filled this room, that means we can go on to do other big shows.
I think it's funny. I didn't come to here to expect like this is my big break, like, because there's so many people doing stuff. There are so many people doing their own hours, like that's the kind of stuff you want to aim to.
People on the street singing.
Exactly. There's people everywhere, like everyone's a comedian. There's people in the pub, like it's just. So I think you just came with nothing but to accept to gain that experience of being able to deal with any kind of crowd, to work out some new material and stuff, and then just have a confidence. But no, it is nice that the Vodafone Comedy Carnival, they kind of saw that in us as well, and it's nice wanted to show, because we were obviously going to be booked separately.
I think it's very interesting, people's perception of comics and the circuit and the fringe outside of comedy world, if you want to call it that. Like, you'll see people saying, oh, I saw such a comic, he got a 5-star review, he's really breaking through, could be his big chance. And he's probably been coming on to fringe for 9 years in a row, doing an hour every year, a new hour, getting reviewed, getting reasonable reviews, and his break comes after 8 years, you know, because the right person saw him, or the right review was done at the right time.
Because we've all seen a bunch of comedians that done that. Like, I think one of the biggest examples I saw of that was Michael McIntyre. Like, you know, when he did the show with a bunch of other comedians, the big one, what was it called? The Apollo Theatre. And everyone was like, who's this like unknown guy? And it was like, I've heard so many stories of him being in America, doing like festivals and like just killing it for years, and then eventually he gets like his break on live on television. They're like, oh, he's so new, it's crazy.
It's amazing, you know. It's amazing when people say that. Like, we know a lot of really good Irish comics who are around for quite a while, like, and who are really good, and just people are like, oh, are they new? Who are they? Because you're not familiar with the scene, or like, oh, is that a new person? They haven't been on telly, have they? You're like, oh, Jesus, just, you know. They're a great comic or whatever, like, you know, it's about a break. We came here, as Anna said, to like work out new material, try ourselves out in new crowds.
I like how you added material there, not just come here to work out.
Yeah, the hills
came
are
here
good
to work
though,
out, up and down the stairs. I vowed never to come back to this fucking podcast after going up those stairs once, like, second time.
I'll just have
you
to
made
do
a
it
mockery
outside.
of me then, like, Anna just runs up the stairs, like, not even one beat of sweat.
2 at a time.
I feel like you were just mocking him all the way up the stairs. Come on, fat ass.
I mean,
she's constantly calling me fat, to be honest. It's very
terrible. You're
I
fat-shaming.
don't know how we've survived the entire fringe.
How do you fat shame people these days?
It's fat shaming, isn't it?
No,
I'd forgotten that was
it's
even
not.
a thing.
Because you're not fat.
When it's easy.
It's only fat shaming.
I am now that I've decided to take offence. I'm. You know what? I'm just a larger man, and I feel that the way you're shaming my
You're putting words in my mouth now.
stomach is.
I look like a horrible person on this, and there's a reason behind why I've called you fat for the past month.
I shamed your hair earlier. So
yeah, but like, you're still making me look bad. I don't think you're fat.
No, I'm not fat. I'm not fat.
Curvy. No, you're
What was it? Bolted together? I've heard recently. That's one, bolted together.
Bolted together.
Yeah.
Bolted together.
Yeah,
What's
that's
that
a
mean?
weird
Is
one.
that meant to be a
I think it's a
compliment?
American slang for something.
For what?
Your physique, I guess.
Bolted.
Yeah.
Oh my god, girl, you're bolted together. You're like, what?
That doesn't make any sense. Like,
That doesn't feel good.
one bolt came loose, like someone could get injured. That's
So what's both your guys' worst experiences while you've been doing comedy in general?
That's a great question.
That's a really good question.
I'll pass the mic to you,
Anna.
Whoever.
Anna,
Because it comes first in the alphabet.
What's my worst experience so far? Oh god, I don't know.
Not washing your hair.
Yeah, just not washing my hair this whole time I've been at the Fringe.
You're going to convince yourself now that it's lucky not to wash your hair.
Oh my God,
like,
I'm never
with a
gonna
great
wash my
Fringe,
hair
can I
again.
wash
I've had a
it?
great time. I'm never washing my hair
You're going
again.
to turn up to your set tomorrow with a shaved head.
Yeah.
Or dreadlocks.
I don't have to wash it ever again.
Anna Marley.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've definitely expected the worst at stuff.
Cheers.
But I don't think I've had actually a really bad horror story, which is touch wood. You know the way, because you think everyone's gonna cheers.
Guys.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for
Great to be
having
here.
us.
Great to be here.
Back to you.
Yeah, I don't think I have a big horror story since
Okay.
I've done it. Like I said, touch wood. I definitely always expected when I first started, and I still get really nervous, but I always expect the worst. Like, you're either gonna forget stuff, or you're gonna someone's gonna heckle you so
Yeah.
bad you want to get off stage and stuff. But
Have you been heckled?
I've been heckled, but never like actually like anything is a heckle. Like anyone shouting out is a heckle in the industry. But I've never been like verbally abused, right, or been like you're shit or something. Like it's always like, you know, you ask a rhetorical question, you don't want to answer it, and someone helps you out, or someone's like, feel sorry for you, you know, like.
Has anyone ever had AIDS?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, yes. And you're like, do you know what I mean about AIDS? They're like, yeah. And you're like, oh right. So
sorry,
I had it twice.
Like when you try like third time lucky. No. No, I think so. I don't when people do that and you try and like include them, because I think some people can turn on people that do that, and if it's not necessarily a bad heckle or a bad shout out, I don't think it's like I don't think you should try and take them down. You can just be like, yeah, buddy, or something like that, and then move on, rather than some people turn and be like, you know,
I think some people
fuck you for speaking out.
Get too aggressive back to an incidental heckler. Like sometimes
you
have
someone just wants to be. They're with you all the way. They're like, yeah, and then they get involved, and you're like, okay, I get that. You're
no need to turn around and like make shit of them.
Like show them.
I think some people just can't hold it in sometimes.
Yeah.
I think there's a complex. I mean, my dad, for an example, we one Christmas we were playing
a renowned car thief.
If you listen to the latest episode with Brian, then you'll know he's a bit of a ducker and diver.
Unbelievable.
Where was I?
Your dad.
Cheers, Brian.
I literally just heckled you. Yeah. I've given you an experiential experience there of exactly what it's like to be heckled and put up your material.
I don't want to come to your podcast. Yeah, but my dad, we were playing a game at Christmas, and he just couldn't help himself he kept answering the questions for the other team, but it wasn't his turn, and we were on the same team, and it was like, and some people just can't like not project what's in their mind, you know, when it comes to them, they're like, oh, this, you know, and I think that can be said about comedy as well. And when people are in the crowd and they're listening so intently, and they hear you make something, and they can maybe connect the dots before you get there, they start shouting out, and that's when it becomes a problem.
So I think you need to pick out whether that's like, you know, they're just with you on this and they're trying to like help you out, or if it's like they're actually being a dick. So
like the worst thing, I would rather somebody was like, and this is not a challenge, so everybody listen, but I'd rather somebody was like
asshole,
a dick shouting out something incidental than somebody actually ruining your. I'd rather that than somebody ruining your punchline with what they think has been part of the show. Like, you know, oh, it's like that. And you're like, oh, you just killed my punchline. Like, there's nothing worse than that.
Because when you made the joke about staying with that specific guy at the house with a bunch of guys, in my mind, I said something. I said it to Laura, and I was like, oh, call so and so, and then like 5 minutes later you kind of brought it back, and then you said it, and I was like, oh shit, like if I had to shout that out,
you'd ruined it.
I just looked like a complete knob.
Well, to be fair,
people do that for that one.
Not that I was gonna I don't shout things.
Once I've had somebody actually kill a callback. I've had somebody kill a callback, and I've had somebody kill punchlines, but not by saying the punchline, but by disturbing the flow and the timing of the build-up. I like rhetorical questions. So I've actually a piece that I took out a rhetorical question because on 2 occasions when I was putting it in as part of a build-up, then somebody went, oh, blah, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, and then you're like, oh, is that right? And then I say, that's where my punchline's meant to be. And I'm like, oh, that's you, yeah, brilliant. And then you just give this flat punchline, blah, and the audience is like, that was a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it? And you're like, well, it's not my fucking fault, it's their fault. You can't say that. So you're just kind of.
How do you get around that though? Like,
you just have to keep going.
Yeah,
glide over it. I mean, sacrifice it, unless you can come up with a witty retort to reframe what they've said to interrupt you. And then forget about trying to deliver that killed punchline and just kind of go over that speed bump and keep going. Yeah. But otherwise, it's like,
Do you ever have problems with people trying to film or take pictures while you're doing your set?
I love that.
You're mad for the camera.
You're like posing mid.
No.
Like someone gets a camera out behind her and she's
I know.
She's filming herself like this, like at the audience are behind the camera. We can't see you. Yeah, I'm filming. No,
it's a bit weird. Someone yesterday had a spot I was doing. An old woman was like this.
No, I don't like that.
I was
Yeah.
just like, I was like kind of thinking for a second. I was like, I don't know what. I was like,
No, I
I
don't
don't know
like
what
that.
she's getting from that. Like, I'm just on to do 5 minutes.
Because it's
So
a big
like,
issue
not
for
someone you know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like.
it's a big issue for bigger comedians.
Yeah.
Not
I would think
physically.
so,
I
yeah.
mean, like, you know,
Yeah.
more popular than
Yeah.
you guys.
No, definitely. Like, someone who's gonna ruin your. Yeah.
But
I don't
You
think
saying
anyone's gonna.
nobody's physically bigger than me? Is that
Filming
what
my
you're-
set and gonna put it
you call me
online.
fat again? It's more fatism. It's just.
I think one of the logical ways I saw around it was there's a company that they bring in, and before you get into whether it's a comedy club, I guess it pertains more to if you're filming a special.
Yeah.
And what they'll do is they'll bring a company in who'll take your phone off you and put it in a Ziploc bag
Yeah,
and put
I
it
went
in
to
a
see Kevin
container.
Hart, and he was in an arena in Vancouver, like a massive arena. And yeah,
Did that.
you were not allowed to take
Yeah.
any. Your
But it makes sense,
Any
though.
photos,
I
any
think-
videos.
yeah,
Yeah,
it makes
definitely.
sense.
If you have a brand new hour, if you
Yeah.
have a brand new set, and it might be getting put on Netflix or something like that. Yeah, you don't want someone having 10 shitty, tiny, like he looks like
Yeah.
a fucking ant, and you can't.
And that's
hear
just
the
in real
jokes
life.
properly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not from far away. Just
It's right
Where
there.
is he?
He's right
I
there.
paid like $60 to
Yeah.
come to an
Yeah.
empty arena.
No, it's
so yeah, that definitely makes sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
year, no phones.
no phones.
That's the goal.
No
Someone's
phones.
just got like an
Yeah.
iPad.
Yeah.
I got around your shitty system.
I think it's. I've objected to people filming before. At a festival I was doing in Ireland, and I was like,
Film,
this
yeah.
guy was
I wouldn't mind
filming, and I
if
was
they
like,
took a photo.
Yeah.
like he'd proper kit, and I was like, who are you? And he was like, oh, just filming
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, stuff for who? He was like, just stuff. I was like, okay. And like he had like a couple of grand's worth of equipment, so he wasn't just incidentally tourist. Like I was like, okay. Now I'd rather you didn't film my stuff, if you don't mind, because I didn't know where it was going, who
Yeah.
was using it, what was going to happen with it, and like maybe in 5 years' time, I don't want to look back on a bit that I was like, oh, I didn't really like that bit, and it's out there on
Yeah.
some random YouTube
Yeah.
channel or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are with your set and whatever, it's just completely rude to bring out a camera or
Yeah,
you know.
but it's distracting as well.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, it is,
just
yeah.
not just to the person performing, but you're being distracted.
Yeah.
You're not paying
I get-
attention to them.
a band maybe doing it while
Yeah.
there's a band on stage because you want to relive a moment.
But you know what? I've recorded so many bands. and
Never
I've
watched them
never
back.
once watched them back.
Never.
Ever.
Nobody
And then
ever
when I
watches
do,
them.
it's always me going over them. So I can't hear the band. I
It's
can
always
just hear my
like
shit
that-
singing.
Yeah.
It's always that like vertical filming, you know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
shitty and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you put it on YouTube and it's like
Nobody ever watches it back, and
No.
I don't know why people do it, because you remove yourself from the experience at the moment, and you just literally you end up. It's like you can't escape sitting at home watching TV for 5 minutes. That
Yeah.
you have to now recreate the experience of watching TV when you're somewhere live. It's daft.
who literally watches or posts a video of them at a comedy show when they're recording someone doing their set, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've ever seen anyone post anything like
No.
that. But it's like, oh, it's like a tick. It's like a physical tick
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're just
but
like,
I
oh, I got
Get
to
it
film
out.
I
this.
think
gotta film
photos are okay. I understand someone taking a quick photo or something like that. My friends might do that because they want
Photos are
because
fine.
everything's about online. Like people want to let everyone know what you're doing online these days, right? So doesn't everyone want to be like
Yeah.
Instagram and then tag if it was my friends coming like we can't wait or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a bit of
Can't
that.
wait
but
to get out
videos,
of
I
here.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait till she's done.
Yeah,
My friends would
Jesus.
definitely do
Let's go
that.
back to London.
Yeah, fuck off.
I'm gonna have to take a quick break. And we're back, or me, because I was
You're back. I'm social media.
emptying the old haggis bladder.
You want to lay off? You want to lay off those whatever things those enhancers you're taking for your working out stuff.
I try
He does lots of and he does lots of
yoga, Kegel exercises.
Kegel exercise, that's for your vagina.
MMA. He
I
beats
know.
the shit out of people.
I'm
do
being
those.
facetious.
I don't.
What?
Vag-cetious. Huh? Oh.
Now he wants to come back on the
Now
pun
he wants to be
scene.
punny.
Yeah, you said you like puns.
That's your
I don't.
punishment
That's
for
why I use
earlier.
a bad pun to illustrate how bad they are.
What is this series of orange cables that you have here?
This is for charging devices
Ah.
from my device charger.
Okay. All the
This
way
is-
through to what?
Got iPhones, USB 3, USB 2, micro USB, new Samsung, everything.
That's very good.
So if I steal phones, I can charge them up fast.
All
and
inclusive.
yeah, I'm an inclusive
nice.
electronics
All
person.
types of phones are welcome at your charger.
yeah. At my charger, yes.
So
Innuendo everywhere, isn't there?
innuendo bingo. One thing I did want to ask you in relation to being a female comedian, obviously.
Yeah.
That's
you know,
Anna,
because
everyone now, is it?
everyone
that
wants to point
me?
out. Do you do Kegel exercises? No.
Yeah,
Uh,
every day.
like
After
if-
meditation.
it always
Hang on,
frustrates.
you don't have time to wash your hair, but you have time to do Kegel exercises.
Obviously.
Just wanna say-
Priorities. Nobody cares for dirty hair. You want a tight vagina.
I think that's your profile on Bumble.
That's my Tinder profile.
I do.
That's
I
a
do
joke of the
Kegel
fringe. That's a joke of the
exercises.
fringe right there.
I do not wash my hair.
But I do Kegel exercises. Oh no.
Hi, Anna's mom.
She taught me. No, I'm joking. lads.
That is severely strange.
I'm joking.
No,
It was my
no
dad.
wonder you have.
I just said.
More prosecco over here.
Okay.
More
Yeah, keep it
prosecco.
coming.
Okay.
Yay. But
So-
what was the female comic question?
I'm never having another female comedian on here ever again.
Yeah, don't bother.
No.
Don't need another one.
You peaked. You peaked.
I always find it frustrating when people are like making a divide between comedians and then there's like a whole division of female comedians.
Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely frustrating.
I mean, to me, I'm like, why? Like, if someone's funny, they're funny. But at the same time, there is the whole argument that it's making a platform for women, you know, to come through, you know, in a place that's conflicted with men. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing
I
to
think it's
have?
great,
a
and I
sort
think
of-
it's like there's that saying that people are like, "Oh, women aren't as funny as men," and that's not true. It's
No.
actually just the fact the sheer amount of men doing
Yeah.
comedy compared to the amount of women doing comedy. So if you had the same amount, there's
Yeah.
shit men, there's shit women.
women,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's actually the amount of men that make
Yeah.
men at the minute like more successful. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's the volume of it. So if you have the same amount of volume of women doing comedy, I think we'd be at an equal
Yeah.
par of being
Absolutely, yeah.
having really good
Yeah.
comics. So it's great. Like I did comedy in Vancouver, I've done it in Dublin and London, and I feel like there's so much more in London than anywhere else I've done it, which is great because then there's just loads of us, and I've done the funny women competitions and gigs with them, and I've been on like because most of the time it's just. You're like one woman or two women in a massive lineup of men, which I don't mind to be honest. But like, that's why I got into comedy. No,
I think this episode is basically
But-
just an advertisement for you to get
yeah,
laid.
yeah.
For the love of God, will somebody date Anna?
Oh my God!
Jesus.
Stop! I'm doing grand. No, but no, like, but then I've been on the lineups in London of all women, and it's been deadly. Like
Yeah.
they're all unreal, and you walk away from that like, ah, shit! Like
Yeah.
this is amazing. It's fantastic, and it's really.
And I think that's what I'm specifically getting more towards is these shows that are all female orientated. Is that, like I said, it's something that helps project and have a platform for women, and a lot of people, and like me personally, it's like, oh, why would you do that? Like, why would you make an all female competition or
Yeah.
or whatever? Because it's like if you're funny, but at the same time, you have to have a platform.
I think
if
it's
gonna be
needed.
more-
I don't think it's like there needs to be loads of them, but I think it's definitely
Yeah.
needed. And like there's just always all men lineups, but it's not cast. Is that right? Like
Yeah.
so, it's just nice to have, and it's just relatable for women. Like if they come along and you see loads of stuff and stuff, and then
And Brian, how
it
do you?
is nice to have. It would. I enjoy the mix shows as well. Like,
Yeah.
I love men and women comedians and all comedians and everything. So.
And Brian, how do you feel about being one of the best trans comedians
Well,
at the Edinburgh Fringe?
LadyBeard, that's what it is.
To be honest, I'm just expressing myself in a new and fantastic and fabulous way, and I'm happy with that in a non-binary way.
You should have called it they beard.
The
Z beard.
Z-beard.
Pronoun beard.
It sounds a bit Spanish though.
I-
Z beard.
I think
Z-beard.
just my own 2 cents on the female comedy question, which is a very man thing to do, to weigh back in
Yeah,
with
go
my
on,
opinion.
move
But
us
sure,
on.
look, sure that's men, isn't it? I think you're back to the argument of equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome, which is a debate you can have over and over again.
Yeah.
I've inherently no problem with female lineups, all female lineups. I have a massive problem with people saying that women aren't funny.
Yeah.
But I think there are far more unfunny men than unfunny women by virtue of there being way more men in comedy
Right.
than
Yeah.
women in comedy. So nobody ever says men aren't funny because they see 5 shit male comedians. They always remember the 2 really good male comedians because
Yeah.
they've been at it for years and they've seen them and they go, they're brilliant. But equally, there are brilliant female comics out there. But I think once it's going to take years for that imbalance to recorrect. And I think
Do you think it will?
I think it will. But I think the excuse me. I think the way it's being done now is by virtue of like all female lineups and an equalization of the appropriation of the label talent to
Right.
everybody. So I wouldn't call every male comedian I see like amazing. Equally, I
Yeah.
wouldn't call every female comic I see amazing. I think talent has to out and has to rise.
Yeah.
But you have to create a scenario where at the very ground level of open mics that people are encouraged
Everyone
and
is given the same
yeah,
opportunity.
same opportunity to get in, and then eventually that imbalance will recorrect. You know what I mean? But I don't think we should necessarily be in a situation where we're making quotas for
Yeah.
headline bills or like big, huge. I'm not talking our level, even talking huge levels where you're going, well, no, that guy can't be
Yeah.
on because we need another woman there. I think eventually, if we create the right circumstances at
Yeah.
ground level, at open mic level, at comedy club level to balance the books, then that will filter up eventually. Yeah.
Do you think it's something to do with, obviously, when it comes to the wage gap as well? One of the big things that comes across is lifestyle choices. Do you think the disparity in female to male comics is due to lifestyle choices as well, or do you think, you know, it's not like, I think, is a comic for life, or do they get to a certain point and like, well, I'll just be a mother now, you know, or
Yeah,
whatever?
I don't know.
Are
I
those
don't have any
things
experience
mutually
that
exclusive?
from friends or anything, or it might be. I mean, I just know loads of my friends are absolutely hilarious and stuff, and they just don't want to do it. Like, they just
Yeah.
don't want to try it. Yeah, maybe they've just not decided, you know,
But in
or
terms
like
of life
different
decisions,
stuff.
I
But
think it's.
I mean, I for one look at some comics who do have kids and stuff, and like that material is so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people who have kids, like, it just seems
and
to
if
be
you're
like
in-
hilarious. So I'm like, I don't know why I'd give up then, because that's when it starts. You have these little shits, and you're like,
Plus,
you're
if
my
you're-
material.
If you're a comic, and this is either male or female with kids,
Yeah.
surely if your significant other is like in the real world, then it's
Yeah.
a perfectly balanced
No.
scenario to
Yeah.
do comedy. You wouldn't need to give it up because you can do comedy. Comedy's a nighttime occupation.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've got a partner who's working during the day in a day job, you're saving on childcare and it balances out and everybody wins. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't think it would necessarily mean that you would have to change your lifestyle.
Okay. Yeah, I was just playing devil's
Yeah,
advocate.
no.
I
don't-
love that, don't you? The big devil advocate.
That's the most sexiest way I've ever heard someone say the devil's advocate.
Rasputin.
Why, thank you.
Rah, rah,
Rasputin.
This interview's over.
Who would you say is one of your? I mean, I hate dividing it like that, but it is conversations that have to have, so to speak. But who would be your favorite sort of female comedians at this point?
Eliza Schlesinger.
Yeah.
I don't think I've said that right.
Yes,
Do you know her? Schlesinger.
I call her
Schlesinger?
shirt slinger.
Yeah, she's fab. I love her. I think she's
She was in
great.
Dublin there not that long ago. Did you
Yeah,
see-
she
were you there
was.
for that?
Yeah, Joanna McNally, another great Irish comic.
I like her
opened
older
for
stuff.
her and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Her first like
You've opened for her.
No, a comic we know from Dublin opened for her.
Yeah.
But because she was in Dublin, but no, she. Yeah, her Hot Cold on
Yeah.
Netflix is.
I like her older
hilarious.
stuff. Yeah.
And I seen her when she came to the Comedy Store in or the Comedy Mix in Vancouver.
I'm not overly familiar with her, I'm not going to lie.
Sarah Pascoe I love as an English comic.
Okay.
Yeah, and...
Is there any top rising young female Irish comedians except yourself?
There's loads of us, yeah.
You were
There
just
is
about to name
actually.
yourself, weren't you?
Yeah, myself.
Anna
Um,
Karenina.
yeah, like I said, Joanne McNally's doing really well in Dublin.
Really, really well. In the UK too.
Yeah, there's people like you gig with, like Laura Byrne, Fiona Frawley, like Alison Spittle,
Spittle really well, yeah.
and Maurice Gahan. Like
Maurice Gahan is probably one of my favourite female comedians.
What's the name? Sorry?
Maurice Gahan.
Maurice Gahan.
It could be Gahan, Gogan,
Yeah, like I'm not
Gahan. It's
sure.
hard
I kind
to
of
be
like
honest.
I thought you said Scone.
It's not. It could be Scone.
They're all doing really well in Dublin.
Right.
Like,
There's a ton of.
There is.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really nice to see. It's really nice
That's cool.
to be around, and lots of great London comics as well.
Are there?
Yeah.
Great London comics. I don't know.
I've never heard
Girls
of any.
have taken over.
There's a massive amount of female comics on the scene, which is great.
Yeah.
One actually, God, I feel weird saying it, but there's a comic in Dublin. I don't think you've seen her. Very young. She's 18, and like if anybody I've seen at 18,
Where's this going?
she's buckle in. No, she's a really, really, really good comic, prolific writer.
Okay.
Writes so much stuff, so much good material. She's only 18. Emily Ashmore. Is her
Okay.
name.
Oh.
And I
Is
really
she-
hope, the only reason I'm saying this is that I really hope that sometime in the future somebody pulls this and goes, he said she'd be big, and she was big, and I'll be like, yes, rah rah Rasputin. Da, 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 da.
Could have been a contender,
Yeah. So when you see people like, there's an example of fostering the right conditions for comedy for everybody to be participating in it, and she is participating in it in Dublin now at 18. So like, if the scene is warm enough and comfortable enough for an 18-year-old girl to be out there doing it, then I think we're in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's sort of a North American stereotype to say that women are not funny? I don't
know where it comes from. It's fucking stupid.
because I've never really thought of that when it comes to the UK and all that type of thing.
I
wouldn't think
heard
anyone
that.
would
I
say
feel like
that.
I grew up kind of knowing
Right.
that, not knowing that,
Really?
but thinking that people thought like,
Well, your dad's a cruel man.
yeah, horrible man.
You're not funny.
Firing puns at you across the breakfast table.
Yeah, well, he just like texted me. He's like, "You have to be funny. What's the pun today?" I was like,
No,
"Oh,
Kato, not
God,
now."
Don't want a pun. Yeah, no, I feel like that was always something like I thought I knew, not like knew, but like was a general overall consensus of people, and maybe something that spurred me into comedy because I was like, I'm actually gas. And,
Right.
like, I need people to know that. Or
You need to know
or need
I'm
to prove
funny.
for the girlos that like we are hilarious. Because like I said, I have mates from home who are actually hilarious.
Right.
Like, that way, and like they'll never do comedy.
Is that something that's always in the back of your mind when, as a comic, people that are funnier than you? There's always going to be people that, but people that don't do comedy.
Not
know,
funnier,
just-
no.
Someone who makes you laugh more.
Well, yeah,
But
if
people that are family, or maybe because you just get their humor.
yeah.
maybe that's
Well,
why
just
it's
people
funny.
you enjoy spending time with and enjoy being around, but
But does that make you feel? I know there's some people that think they feel like a fraud when they become successful because, in the back of their mind, they always feel there's this person in
Who's
my family,
funnier than
this
me.
friend that's funny, but never will do comedy, and they
but
feel
that's
sort
like,
of fraudish.
That's like anything. That's like football.
Yeah.
It's like any sport, any
and it
musical
doesn't like always
instrument.
translate as well. It's not always
No.
Your mate in the pub who's going to do the best stories is going to get
Yeah.
up on stage and do that
those stories,
just as well.
yeah.
That way.
Because if they have no relevance to the audience, they've no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody can be hilarious in the pub, or be hilarious in a group at work or whatever. Like, and then they try to recreate that exactly on stage. It doesn't work because
Yeah.
the audience don't have that connection to you. They don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't know you.
Backstory,
They don't have
yeah.
the backstory. They don't know the connections. They're not used to hearing you. Not used to enjoying your company. You're there to entertain. Now entertain me. So
Yeah.
there's no warmth of connection there off the bat. So that's where there's a massive difference
Yeah.
in that scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't like a want to do it on stage as well.
Yeah.
How did you get started? I mean, the last podcast we got a little bit of Brian's
Yeah,
backstory,
so
but
Anna, I'm
I
gonna
don't
go
know
to
how
the
you got
I'm gonna go to the
started, actually.
bathroom. But no,
Hey.
like how you got started. I'm gonna
Um,
leave while
Are
you
you?
tell your
Oh, I
backstory.
need to pee. That he's well peed.
the story of your back.
I
Tell them, Anna.
I will like go away.
Can you only tell it when he's not in the room?
Yeah. This way.
shit about me, you guys.
I started because I studied drama first of all for 2 years, and then I was working in Dublin, moved to Vancouver, and I've always had an interest in stand-up and like what kind of an interest in doing it, but I think it's terrifying.
Did you do any stand-up while you were in drama school?
We had these, it's funny, we had these classes called Manifesto in the drama school I went to, which was the Gaelic School of Acting in Dublin. And
Sounds very communist.
Yeah. But it was a class every week that you had to write your own stuff to perform, because they were kind of giving you like maybe a bit of help from the outside world, like you might not succeed, make your own work. And I think the first actual class of that was do you think acting or like theatre or film is it meant to tell a message, or are you there to entertain?
Yeah.
And we had to we had to pick different sides, and
so they were asking sort of deep philosophical
yeah,
questions about why you wanted to be an actor.
That's what they do in drama school. They break you down, don't give you back the way you started. It's just like, there you go. And I was on the debating side of it's entertainment, and then came out and did I was dressed as a clown, so maybe not quite like comedy, but I was telling jokes and stuff, and I had a little drum, and I went boom, toosh, for the first ever class. So
Did
I
you
think
tell puns?
I didn't. Well, they were shite jokes. They were awful, like kind of, the reaction of a But it was fun, and that every week you got a different topic, you got something else to perform and stuff, and that was kind of most of the time. Sometimes I'm a bit of a melancholy as well, so sometimes I'm a bit sad, but most of the time I went for lighthearted.
That's like, all artists are.
I think you like the extremes. I'd either like to make people laugh or love a cry. Yeah. So, but most of the time I went towards the entertainment value of and I've just loved being on stage with that live buzz. I love that. Like, I do love entertaining people.
Right.
So that was in the back of my head always. And then I moved to Vancouver, and I was looking at new classes to meet new people doing the same kind of creative stuff. But I've done like every kind of drama acting class, kind of mostly like wank at the end of the day. In other words, like I've done everything you can imagine. So I was like, I don't feel like paying loads of money just for someone to like tell me shit. So I found a stand-up comedy class, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, kind of always been interested in that, and I was like, it's writing as well, because I always write.
How old were you when you first went to this comedy class? Sorry, just to interject.
25.
Right, okay.
I think 25. So 3 years ago. Yeah, and it was like, I was like, if I even don't pursue it, like you have to write, you learn how to form jokes, and then at the end of it, there was a showcase, and I did that in Vancouver, 3 years ago, and at the end of it, showcase, I was so scared, like so scared than I've done loads of theatre before, but it's just so different. You're not hiding behind a character, you're not hiding behind someone else's work. You are yourself, and you're trying to make people laugh. So I just never been that nervous for anything in my life, and it went well. But it's a friendly audience, it's a showcase, your friends and family there, like it's a nice.
Did it affect you when you came to perform? Like, were you like, or did once?
No, I think when you're out there, you're just like you either you either fail or you either fall, you let everyone see it, or you just switch it on, because otherwise you're done. And no, it went really well. And then from that, straight away, someone in Vancouver was like, you should come do some comedy with us over here. Did another show. Then someone asked me to be in a sketch writing group, and from that just like kept it going. And I just thought it was nicer than kind of pursuing acting, because it's more instant and you were more in control. You had your 5 minutes on stage each night if you wanted to. Like,
you don't have to rely on anyone else. It's just you and your writing.
Yeah, and if people like always like, oh, when was your last gig? You're like, oh, it was last night, rather than people like, when your last acting role? You're like, no one's ever cast me in anything. Like, what are you talking about?
The pantomime when I was 5.
Like, what have I seen you in? You're like, nothing.
Somebody looked like me.
Is that an purely just a Scottish and English phenomena, the pantomime? Or is it in Ireland as well?
I was in the pantomime like in my local village when I was a kid. Every year.
My local village?
Yeah, my local village. Howth, lovely little fishing village in Dublin, if you want to
It's a very posh place. She's making it out to be like this tiny little village where it's like fishermen and trawlers.
It's a tiny village. It's beautiful.
It's like
and it is
speedboats.
posh. There's like, it's like, but it's like the tiered system. Like, if you live at the bottom, you're all right. Middle, you're all right, and then rich.
Basically,
the
economy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Capitalism, folks.
It's quite the place.
But we had a really bad pantomime every year. But I mean.
Were you in it?
Yeah.
I was in pantos when I was younger.
So much fun. Oh my god, it was just so much fun. You were like 7, you were getting cakes and makeup, and then you just went on and be like.
I probably shouldn't tell this story.
What pantomime was that? Like,
Cinderella.
Rape.
Yeah.
I think that was Cinderella, I guess, maybe.
Well,
I think they did that for all of them. Aladdin.
It's not.
Just ran on in tap shoes.
Jesus.
I
wasn't in any of them
What
anyway.
were you in your pantomime?
Oh, I did a bunch. I
You
did
look like Peter Pan.
no.
No.
In hindsight,
Does it a little?
Yeah, you do.
not at the time. I couldn't grow a beard when I
Yeah,
was like
true.
10.
Yeah.
Did Peter Pan have a beard?
Lost
I'm not
Boy.
sure.
I don't know.
Yes, I'm the very lost boy. 1 year I did. I can't remember. Was it? It must have been Dick Whittington, but there was a
I don't know that one myself.
Dick Whittington.
You took a pause there. Like,
I thought I said Dick Winton, but I've heard of that. But
Dale
I've heard of it,
It's
but-
Is that a
Dale
story?
Dale Winton's posher brother. No, Dick Whittington.
Right. Heard of it,
Everyone
but
There was a pirate in it for some reason, and I was the parrot.
Parrot.
So I played
I thought you
a
said pirate.
parrot.
on the shoulder of
for
the pirate.
for the parrot. No, I stood on his shoulder. It was a prosthetic pirate, so it was just me standing on.
Oh.
Right.
No, I'm joking. It was a real person, but they
You
didn't
on
give
that
me a beak, so they painted a beak on my
Onto your
face like
face.
every day.
Well, they're not just give you a fake beak. That would be easier. Wouldn't
No, that would have been much easier, but they painted it on. They insisted, like they wouldn't let me just put it on because I had to speak as well, so it'd be hard with the,
with the beak.
prosthetic beak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would go to school. I wouldn't be able to quite get the makeup off every day, so I would go to high school and I'd have like
Beak.
faint yellow all over my face.
Jesus.
My friend told everyone that I had jaundice, so
He's got liver failure.
everyone at high school thought I was like dying, and I just couldn't get
Should
this
have
off.
milked that for a fundraiser.
I had like sores from trying to like scrub this stuff off, and then someone told me about shampoo with makeup.
I
and
really
supposedly
didn't think we were going to get like childhood memories.
it's getting
from you.
traumatic.
Quite
yeah.
traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus
Yes.
Christ. You thought running around and
I mean,
tapping your way onto stage, roaring at people was
You,
tough.
Sad.
you guys are Irish, I presume. Are you Catholic?
Here we go now.
Fair weather Catholics, I suppose you'd say. Cultural Catholics.
Cultural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
baptized.
Yeah.
Was baptized once.
Got free stuff.
Got money from Holy Communion.
I'm not a practicing Catholic, I suppose you'd say.
Is it
No.
the same as like being Jewish? Like you're sort of
Yeah.
cultural. There's always one
I
word
feel
I
like
can't
Jewish
say.
people not more proud of it, but I mean, I think
Culturally,
they
yeah.
are still more.
And then
thing.
you're like sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I was baptized because my mum and dad wanted to keep their parents happy a bit, and then they don't believe in. They didn't want to practice. I didn't go to a
Yeah.
Catholic school in Ireland, which was very unusual
Okay.
because most of the Catholic schools still. I mean, most of the church still runs all the schools in Ireland.
Still.
So I went to
Yeah.
like a
2018.
Yeah.
Really?
That's
Really,
more-
actually, really bad that you have like
It's
people.
more of
are-
an arrangement that the
Kids can't get into school unless you if you let your kid makes your kid. You have to make your kid.
You have to go
Catholic and
to
stuff.
a religious school.
Yeah.
Well,
No, not always. It's getting better, but I mean, it's still.
yeah, it's changed.
If you want to
now.
go somewhere local, you have to like baptize your
Yeah.
kid to get them into
just-
school.
they just changed
for
that.
school, like it's.
They just changed it. It was that way. That like so, if there was an excess of numbers trying to get into a school, they would take the baptized kids
Yeah.
first
Right.
in the area. So if you weren't baptized Catholic and there was a waiting list, you probably wouldn't get into the nearest school to you. You'd have to go to another one. That has now changed. They changed the law on that, which is great. But I think the schools are not really run by the church. The boards of management of the schools are local church board of management, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. So, and it was suited the state because it picked up a lot of the slack
Okay.
in terms of costs and stuff like that. So it shared the burden financially. So that's why the majority of national schools or primary schools in Ireland are
Yeah.
run board
Yeah.
of management wise by the church. But it just means that there's religion classes and there's
Yeah.
communion and confirmation as part of the syllabus. But it's not like necessarily meaning they won't let other kids in. Like,
Yeah.
other
Oh, yeah.
faiths and other kids can be in the same
Yeah.
school, but it just means they run them. Now, in an ideal world, I would say, yeah, absolutely, like state-run schools all the way.
Yeah.
But to transfer everything to state would be,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a longer process.
No,
than it
totally.
sounds, yeah.
But it's sort of creepy when it has a religious sort of
Yeah, yeah.
affect. You know.
Yeah.
I think
so-
religion should be taught at home. If you want to teach your kids religion, teach them at home.
Yeah, or like a general, like
I don't
we
know.
taught, we
Yeah.
were taught every religion.
Because
What's
we had
good to do?
RE,
Like what?
Did you go to like an educate
Yeah,
together?
no, chicken.
our school.
Jesus, was there an educate together when you were a
Yeah,
child?
yeah. I think it's like maybe there was one or two. In
Reminisce in
Dublin
your
at the
own time. I'm joking.
Sorry, back to the man whose podcast
The
it is.
podcast is my,
Jesus, back to the narcissist. All right, we're listening to you. We're listening to
Talk
you.
about me. No. We had ARI in our school, which is religious education.
Yeah.
So we got taught everything, but not under the guise that it was, you know, like it wasn't all just about Christianity. There was Judaism and Buddhism and
It's the right way to do it.
And that's definitely the best way to do it.
it's
There's
brilliant.
so many religions out there. Imagine if you didn't know.
Yeah, she couldn't be right.
And she would constantly make us watch my teacher, Mrs. Fernando. She would just make us watch The Matrix all the time. It was so strange. Yeah,
Like
because it
that,
has
the
so
religion?
many religious implications. You know, there's so much going on there, especially with philosophy as well. She was pretty cool, but I didn't realize it at the time because I came from a school that wasn't religious, but it did have like, we all did the nativity. We all sang prayers and Christmas carols at Christmas, you know.
Yeah.
But I was still a little bit like, she doesn't believe in Adam and Eve, you know. It's like, but then I was like, of course. When I got older, of course she bloody doesn't.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think Ireland is really predominantly culturally Catholic, as in we'll go to christenings, communions, confirmations, weddings, funerals, all the ceremonies of the church. But in terms of week to week going to like mass or church or whatever you want to call it, most people don't. Below under 50, under 45, 50, people don't really practice regularly. I don't think.
No, it's definitely not.
Dead.
popular.
It's dead church.
Is Catholic guilt a real thing, do you think?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, you're guilty about everything.
Feel like it all the time.
You're guilty about not feeling guilty right now, but something you can't remember you should feel guilty about. Like, that's how
3
guilty
Hail
it is.
Marys.
Yeah.
It's just, no, it is a thing, I think, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it's a very
definitely.
Irish thing.
Because I just asked you guys like that, and you both nodded at the same
Yeah,
time,
it
like
is a
it was
thing.
Yeah, and
something.
I didn't. My parents never pushed.
It feels like
religion on us whatsoever,
Yeah.
and you still feel.
It's a cultural guilt, though, I think. I mean,
It feels like
you
it's
could-
inherent.
I think Irish
in
people
you.
just constantly feel sorry for everything. They're like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, Jesus, did I?
Yeah.
Did I just do that? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's a
You
good
feel
thing,
bad
it's
about
like-
stuff
Yeah.
that maybe other people don't feel bad about. Is that a bad thing? Maybe not. Maybe it's nice to have this voice in the back of your head that's conscientious about how other people feel or how
Yeah.
you've interacted with the world, and maybe you shouldn't have done this or that. Like, I don't mean like normal stuff, but I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
maybe you're just like, maybe I should have been nicer to that person, or
Yeah.
did that person think I meant this by saying that? And
Maybe we
maybe
should
that's a nice
masturbate
thing.
till 3:30 in the morning to online porn.
Yeah.
well, I
You
thought
just
you
go
looked
to
tired.
confession.
I
You just go to confession.
thought you looked
and
tired. to be
Priest is like,
honest.
me too.
So you were.
He
smelling
probably
the
gets his
connection
fresh, to be honest. Doesn't have to look at porn.
Yeah.
Nothing
He's
worse than
like,
buffering.
That was you on that was you on chat roulette.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's fine.
Chat roulette. I've
Wow,
never
Anna,
heard.
You're telling us too much, Anna.
I've never heard.
Alive.
It looked as if you've seen some things on that website.
I've seen many things on chat roulette.
on many a website.
I mean, how would you even describe that? It basically is how it sounds, you know.
I've only ever been with mates watching it, like.
Oh,
a
that's
joke.
as long as it was in a group.
Yeah, we're all like.
That's what the Nazis said, you know.
Yeah.
Like, as well,
We were
as
all
long
in
as
it.
we're all gassing the Jews, it's fine.
It's not as bad as that. Like, it's just watching people on other webcams.
Yeah, is, this
Anyone
on.
else? No, anyone else.
is this on chat roulette right now? Like,
Yeah, it might as well be.
That would be a great idea for a
Ah.
podcast.
it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a great idea for a podcast. Like,
Podcast roulette.
be on chat roulette
Roulette,
and let
podcasting.
it, like, you know,
Yeah.
spin over and then people masturbate while
Yeah,
they're
it's
talking.
just fucking.
No.
No, bad plan. Catholic guilt. No, it's just, it's
Yeah, I
just
feel
it's
it all
Irish
the
guilt.
time.
Irish guilt. It's like
Yeah.
an Irish thing, and I think it's in some respects good. Not that you feel bad about normal things, but that you are conscientious about other people and your impact on the world.
So you're...
Did you like that?
that was deep.
Philosophers.
So you're sort of almost making a case for to have some sort of, not religion, but something that keeps you
Yeah,
in
I think
check.
it's individual to everybody,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know what I mean? Everybody has a moral compass, and I don't think you need religion to come up with a
Yeah.
moral compass. I think, if anything, the most religious people you'll ever meet are the most morally skewed people you'll ever meet as well. So I think that if you're just try to be a nice person and try not to upset anyone, then isn't that all you can do really?
Yeah.
Leave as little negative impact on the planet as you can in general.
I think when I was younger, I used to really say I was like Catholic. I was like, yeah, I'm Catholic, but we never ever went to church. So I used to start going to church with my friends' families because I thought it was cool. Like, started a choir. Started going to the choir and stuff. And
Just by yourself.
My parents were like, you don't have to, but my best friend's family were really into it. So I was like, oh my god, just everyone goes every Sunday. It seems really nice.
Were you being videotaped? Was
Yeah.
that why you would go there? You felt like
Yeah.
you were
Was it like-
performing
And I'm like
a virgin.
Yeah, woo!
Touch me to the bird.
Yeah, but I did. I kind of thought, because most families at the time did do it, and I was like, thought we were a bit outside of it. And I was like, I don't get it. And then eventually you grow up, and I was like, oh wait, like, why am I associating myself with that when literally my parents baptized me to just keep the family morals alive or whatever.
But that's
and then we went to multi-denominational school. We made our communion. And then they were like, if we had to go to Sunday school to make our communion. And then if you wanted to make your confirmation, you can. My parents were like to me and my brother, like, you can still do it if you want, but you have to keep going to Sunday school.
Gibberish to me.
Yeah, what?
Confirmation and all this nonsense.
Okay, you're not, no.
Nothing.
Well, just say communion is in when you're in the white dress as a kid and you get money, and then confirmation is when you get to pick another name.
Yeah.
That's basically how I can like research them.
I'm very pagan.
They're
so.
they're just like.
But you do it usually in a Catholic school, but because we weren't outside of it. But my mum and dad didn't care, so they're like, you decide. So my older brother was like, I'm not doing it because it involves Sunday school. And I was like, I want to be my brother, so no. And then the more you grew up again, I was like, wait, why do I keep, like, because I'm Irish, I feel like I need to be associated with this. And I was like, actually, I don't believe in it, not believe in any of it, but because of all the stuff that's outcoming of it, I'm like, why would I stand beside something that I haven't practiced really? I haven't got faith in it because I was just there as like a sheep. Yeah. So I was like, I can't really actually just be like.
I think you raise a very interesting point, and I think a point that affects a lot of people now in so far. So cultural Catholicism is one thing where you have your kids and you do all the religious ceremonies with them, and then you let them make their own minds up, and they don't really, maybe not necessarily believe in stuff, or they just, like me, I'm not.
Is that a newer philosophy when it comes to it, or is it something that's always?
I think it's newer. It's certainly newer in terms of its prevalence. Yeah. Where people go through the motions, but there's a funny thing. So what happened to you? What you're talking about is like you wanted to be part of something that you were kind of not part of. Yeah. Because everyone else was part of it. So, but there's a funny one. So if you're like, so for example, I was baptized, I was did my communion, did my confirmation, did all the sacraments of growing up, as my parents would be normally religious people, they're older, and I went through that, and I came out the other side of it going, not for me. Right. So if I had kids, should I then be like, no, I don't believe this, so you shouldn't believe this either, and we're not going to go through those motions with you, and therefore exclude my kids from what is essentially a cultural experience.
Yeah, not true.
Now, rather than an actual religious experience.
I mean,
well, that's what my mum and dad did, because they grew up like
but
harsh Catholic scenarios, and then we're just like, you decide.
You decide. Yeah.
I always have this,
which I think is good,
thought experiment in my head, just in relation to what you're saying. Yeah. Basically taking kids, you live in a little community way out in the woods. Where are you going with this, man? There's loads of sex. There's no. Dark as hell. I get loads of fellatio. No.
And edit point. edit point.
So you take a community way out in the woods. There's no talk about religion in any sense. Would someone gravitate towards religion? Would they find it?
I think would
they find it if you'd never heard of it?
Yeah,
never heard of it.
Man search for meaning. True. You will find.
But it's even
but say you have all the amenities of modern life, except that.
I think that's where meditation and mindfulness and all this stuff comes from. It's not that's born from it. You're trying to find a meaning to something that we all have no meaning behind.
There is no meaning. There is no meaning.
So you need to have some belief in yourself, and that's why when I grown up, I was asking my dad, who didn't stop believing in God, and he's like I believe there's a spirit out there. He's like, there's definitely something that is keeping
everything moving
around the human thing, and it's like a spirit or an energy or something. and he's big into mindfulness and meditation, all that stuff. So I think, no matter where you are, and that's how everything has come from, something that you have to, people want to put a reason and something behind it, like why you're here. And it helps you a bit.
Well, religion has
that's
always been...
I can see why religion is a nice thing to have, and I'm actually, again, jealous, because I'm like, I'm scared of dying and I don't really know what's going on.
I'm jealous of
but
people
if you have something that is a heaven and a thing, like...
I'm jealous of people who actually full on believe in heaven and religion and God and all that, because I would regard myself as, would be an atheist, probably more, I'd be agnostic.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm like, I just find it real hard to believe that. But I'm so jealous of people who have absolute faith, because imagine like in the toughest times in your life, that if you have that at the back of your mind, that this is there for you, and this is the reason for, this is everything, then that must be incredibly comforting. But I just don't have that.
But their preset isn't, God's in their life, so that's why they have the strength. The preset is they have so much belief in a certain thing that it actually alters their outcome, and what they do. It's not they're actually having divine intervention,
No.
So it is coming from within you that you'll be able to get past these times, whether it's in the form of, God or anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
So I definitely think if you were in the middle of nowhere, you would find some peace with yourself of what it is that you're...
But there's definitely an ease of belief in a common thing. Yeah. So like, you could be going through the toughest of times and believe in yourself and have your own belief system around whatever it might be, the universe, life, the sun, a rock, whatever the fuck you want. That's a very isolated way to be, though. If you're the only person who has that, something is coming from the core of yourself. Whereas if you're part of a broader religion or a group, you have that security of the strength that everybody believes this thing, and this must be the way it is, and this is the ultimate comfort, that we're all in this, as opposed to just from yourself.
But the pitfall of that is then the sheep mentality, that you're going to follow wherever that that goes. I think one of the most profound things I've heard was Chris Rock in Dogma, and he said organized religion's terrible, but like an idea is great. If we all have ideas, then we can just get on with our life.
As long as we don't compete. Believing that there's so many religions in the world.
Beliefs. It's just not like not thinking one thing is right.
How can you believe it's impossible to think one religion is right versus all the religions that are out there?
And it's crazy that the three Abrahamic religions are all fighting against each other to figure out, and it's like you all believe in basically
from somewhere.
Abraham was about to kill his kid. You're all kind of fucked up. I hate to break it to you. It's mad. It's mad. I think religion is fascinating. And I think
too. For a long while, I wanted to study. I wanted to do religious anthropology, the relationship between people and their beliefs. I don't believe myself, but I find it fascinating that people come to these conclusions. And why. I like hearing why.
I find even coming to a conclusion is one thing, but then like many generations later, believing in like this massive amount of bureaucracy that's been laid down by everybody who's since interpreted that one idea way back when. Yeah. And just taking it as it is and going, oh, well, that must be the way, because that guy said it was. And it's just, I can't wrap my head around that,
Or it's been bastardized by capitalism, that's the one
you
that's...
You really hate the capitalist, don't you? He's very anti-capitalist, Anna.
I just feel like all things are related.
His hand into the bucket of our monies from the fringe and take 90% and give it to the poor. We are the poor.
Yes.
It's our money.
We're not the 1%. No, we probably are compared to the rest of the world.
Compared to the world, No, it's not a perfect system, obviously. No system is a perfect system, but it's the one we have. So what do you do then?
I think when anything's left unchecked, and it certainly is, it's going to become I would say a bastardized version of itself.
Global crashes and well, America in itself is unbridled capitalism, which is the most horrible vision of the world you can have.
And it feels like it's perpetual with what's happening, and it's even been expedited. We're getting these crashes happen every so.
We now expect them to happen.
Yeah, it's getting quicker and quicker. Obviously you have to listen to my other episodes to see that I don't like capitalism.
Just have to look into your eyes.
But I think it has to be an amalgamation of something else in capitalism. I don't feel it's like down with capitalism. We shouldn't have people making money off of their talents, because that's wrong. You know, if you're selling out all your, if you're selling out like a fucking 1,000-seater or whatever, you should make all that money from that because you're talented.
Yeah,
and you should be able to be paid appropriately to that. You know, that's things that
your
should
tax system
happen.
Works, isn't it?
Yes.
For everyone. Then that's fine.
You can't just have basic communism be like, well, doesn't matter if you're so talented, we're all getting paid the same.
Yeah.
Then again, they all had nice apartments, didn't they? They all had nice apartments.
Who?
People who live in communist countries, they all got an apartment.
They're all atheists as well, I suppose.
Yeah, all atheists. Yeah.
That's one thing that people don't connotate with communism, is that like atheism, you know, and they always think, oh, you know, this is just a weird right wing, but it was left wing.
It was left wing.
It was left wing sort of fascism and communism. Yeah. And people don't realize that was not the case. You know, these were supposedly left, obviously.
Yeah. Well, as with anything, it was left, but it needed a centralized power to control it, and then any centralized power corrupts. Yeah. Absolute power corrupts, and ends up in a tiered system where the elites became the elites, and everybody else was under communism, and the elites weren't. They were living a different lifestyle.
Yeah, with
very smart.
Love the communism. Love it.
The communism, to bring it back to Catholic.
I see what you did there.
What's the little things that you eat when you're in the church?
Holy Communion.
Communion.
Is it like a
wafer?
So
what is it?
Have you never even been to a church? Like?
No.
Where I thought Scottish people were Catholic.
You're from Mars. You've never. Have you been to any religious ceremony ever in a church?
John Carter from Mars. Right. We'll all tell a story.
You were getting these movie quotes, and I love songs.
And I'm just like, communism.
We'll all should tell the day that we felt like we lost a bit of trust in religion and sort of belief.
Jesus,
belief.
I'll tell you.
Okay. So when
I'll tell you.
When did it happen to you? Do you remember it?
Priests at home.
That is so strange. It's unbelievable.
Like a violin.
Priests on my own. I had this interest in religion.
Were you molesting dolls?
No teddies.
We out of beer. This is a travesty.
I had candles on both sides of a table like this, and I tried to climb on. My hair is naturally massive, and I.
Do you have curly hair?
Massive.
Dirty
That's
hair.
why I haven't washed it, because it's so hard to maintain.
Yeah. Sure.
And I climbed on. My massive fro went into a candle, and it went on fire. And I was waiting to say communion to my teddies, and I didn't. I had to call for help, and my mum had to roll me on the ground, and I just got lost faith in religion then.
So that was the point where you were like, this sucks.
I was like, nah, it's not for me. Didn't want to be a priest.
That's mad. That's mad. Yeah.
No, I think it was
you nearly died. That's a good enough excuse.
I did. No, I could have got less hair, which would be nice.
Yeah. But that Irish thick curly hair.
I think my parents just never. They
never
didn't.
watched.
My mum went to Catholic church in London. My dad went to Catholic school. My mum went to Catholic school in London. My dad went to Catholic school in Ireland. They both had really bad experiences. They weren't like abused, but they had.
No.
They were beaten up and stuff, and they just never instilled that in us. And they were like, "It's up to you." And then when you're like the people, like I had an interest in it because my friends were doing it, and then they got to like my age of 16, 17, they're like, no. And I was like, actually, why am I saying I'm Catholic when I've never done anything except pretend to be a priest?
That's crazy.
What, like, I just visioned of you walking into a charity and taking all their money, like, here to collect the charity box for the church, Father Anna, and just walking out with a box full of cash.
Eat this round prawn cracker.
I think I want to get married. I always wanted to get married in a church, and now I'm like, I can't. I'll probably go up in flames.
I don't believe in marriage.
You don't believe in marriage?
No.
I just like it, though.
It's a strange concept.
It is, but
I would do this.
I like it.
Either a humanist wedding, or
I think humanist is nice.
Some sort of pagan wedding in the.
It's just a celebration of your love. I think is nice. You don't have to
Don't have to overdo it, do you? Bag of chips.
So Brian, fish and chips by the sea. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
When did you lose your faith?
When was the? Could you pinpoint the time that you were like, this is a point where I thought less or lost completely?
I think I was quite a good child in terms of praying and stuff. About praying, my mother would taught me to pray about, like, for my aunts and uncles and my grandparents, all that nice stuff, like say your prayers before you go to bed kind of stuff. And that was grand, that was nice. But I think I wouldn't say lost, but I think I started to question around the time I discovered or I figured out the Santa Claus thing.
Okay.
So I don't know what age I was, 7 or something, or 8. And I was like, there's a man who flies through the sky around the world in one day with flying reindeers. It comes down the chimney. He puts this makes no fucking sense, right? And the minute I realized that made no sense, then I think that opened up that window to me. I don't know why it opened up the next window, which was, well, if I apply the same logic that I've just applied to debunking Santa Claus, then surely the rest of it's all...
It's a logical conclusion in your thought process.
Did he walk on water? Did he divide, like, one sliced pan and a fish across 5,000? Probably not. So none of it made sense then. And for me, that was probably the unraveling. And I think when I was maybe, as I thought about it more at 12 or 13 and so on, and I was like, I just can't wrap my head around it logically.
It's weird. I think the whole Santa Claus thing was the big one for me. It was the one I was most devastated by.
Yeah.
I was like 13 when I found out. I just wouldn't let it go. No, he asked my mum and dad, like,
Did you believe like?
I believe.
God, Santa Claus
it
are
actually
coming
still
down.
affects me. I
Really?
was in love with the man. Like,
must have been
I used to
devastated.
write him. I would make scrapbooks every year.
Is that why you asked me to do this show?
Yeah, I was like, is that you, Santa?
Is that why you get him to
My
dress?
parents told me you took retirement early, and you look great.
Is that why you get him to cosplay as Santa Claus?
Yeah. Honestly,
Why
I
do
do
you wear black,
have a
Brian?
thing.
Wear the red suit. Wear the red suit. What the fuck is this?
Just put it on. Go on.
No, I do love.
Have a cup of tea, Father.
It was devastating, but I didn't. I think I was definitely 12 or 13, and I didn't.
That's pretty late.
I didn't have to be told or anything. It just.
Yeah, my brother was the same.
It was
My
a
eldest brother.
dawning one.
Yeah.
My eldest
Really
brother,
late.
My eldest
Really
brother,
late.
John, if he's ever listening to this. Hi, John.
So he found out when he was 13.
I had to be told before he went to secondary school.
But it's for your own good. If I don't say this,
Just so you get
you're going to
bullied.
get beat.
You're never
Gonna
getting
get
a
beat
girlfriend
up.
if you don't like give up on the Santa Claus thing. It's too much. Yeah.
That was the time I remember losing it. There was a definitive moment where I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Kind of leading up to this, I was 18 at the time, but up until that point, I just generally assumed, it's all based on stories or whatever, but not real ones. Like, and I remember going to midnight mass when I was 18 and just being like, all these adults are here just watching this guy talk about child stories, and believing in it, and like
The bigger tragedy is most of them don't believe it.
But
They
they're
just
there because they
like,
feel they have to be.
Yeah, like I think religion. I find religion fascinating, and I find so many different religions fascinating, and the belief systems and the history behind them really interesting.
Yeah.
But the reality is that most practicing Catholics and other religions have the level of knowledge and understanding of their religion that you would have as a 9-year-old. And have no desire to know or understand anything beyond that. I would have no problem if somebody was like mad into their religion, researched it, read it, understood it, and went, "Do you know what? This is for me," because they've read it. This just makes fucking sense. Yeah. And I go, fair play. I'm glad you found solace in the world and you believe in this belief system. That's fantastic. But people randomly showing up at different places at different times, like masses or churches or times a year to celebrate things, because they always did, and the only level of intellectual understanding they have of it is that of a 9-year-old, is bananas. I can't wrap my head around that. That's real sheep behavior.
Yeah, no, totally. One of the things that always fascinated me after that moment was seeing whether it's a priest or a minister and just seeing them dressed up the way they dress, and thinking this is like someone who's almost 60 or whatever age he was, and being like, this guy has dedicated his whole life to something that more than likely is false.
Still a well-paid job.
That's sad, isn't it? Yeah,
it is sad, yeah.
It's very sad when you think about it.
But then again, a lot of them truly believe, so they think that we're sad. So yeah,
but you don't know what's to come, and if that is going to give you
death.
Death becomes us all.
Afterwards, they're gonna
I doubt it.
not sin
doubt
or
it.
thing.
Just. Yeah, there's no great.
Oh,
There's no
shit,
comedy
I thought
club in
it
the
was
sky,
that-
Anna.
There is.
What are you gonna do
You're
like
not
in
getting
heaven?
in, though.
What are you gonna do in heaven? Like when there's like Anna can I go on stage? There's no stages, Anna. We're all equal here. What do you mean we're all equal? I
What
must
are you on
perform. No, it's no. We're all just gonna die into the ground.
I don't think we're gonna die. Though.
Bottle of prosecco.
So to bring it background, full circle, even though we didn't start with comedy, obviously. What do you do from here now? Like when you leave the Fringe Festival, what's the plan?
Jesus, plans. Well,
That's
we're
what I was trying to think of today. Cause it's
going to Vodafone, obviously, but that's down the road. That's October, is it?
Update your contract, yeah, totally.
Yeah, Vodafone. Got some gigs booked in September in London.
Yeah, I've gigs in Dublin, Cork. Gigs in Dublin and Cork and Galway coming up. I don't have my diary to hand, and I don't know when they are, but I know I have, I think, a week with no gigs when I get back,
right.
And then back into like 2 or 3 week. Cork, Dublin, Galway, touring the Irish circuit again, and then the big one being the Vodafone
next
Festival in October. The another big one, like Fringe style size.
And then just write my 40-minute show, Women show next year.
Gonna write a 50-minute man show because
man show.
Man show.
Mansplaining.
One woman. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. One.
Men are about 5 minutes better. Yes, you are a woman.
But we'll come back with something. We
will do something
together.
Yeah,
so
we'll do something. Yeah.
And you want to come back next year to?
Oh, we're definitely coming back.
Yeah.
You both should do something in regards to like YouTube or something. You know, I think you guys have chemistry.
Chemistry, do you hear that?
Comedic chemistry.
Dirty hair.
Not penis chemistry.
You too. No.
We don't have penis chemistry.
There's no Rasputin, tree stump.
Yeah.
No.
Live up to his name.
But something, you definitely have that sort of.
I think
a great vibe.
We'll do something next year, show-wise, definitely together. But we'll be doing our own shows as well. But we'll do something. But whether it'll be the same as this year in terms of the length of a split, I don't know. But we'll definitely do something. Yeah.
It's good.
It's not the end of LadyBeard.
It's not the end of LadyBeard.
Do you think it'll evolve into another name, or are you going to keep the LadyBeard?
I don't know. I think
I don't know, unless we can get him to shave off his beard, and then I get my gender transformation.
Just
a reassignment.
We'd all settle for just washing your hair, to be honest, and it'd be grand. Like,
fuck off.
I love that it's becoming a thing now. Dirty Anna with her dirty hair.
Dirty Anna. As well.
Yeah.
We'll be back on your podcast.
Of course.
When we come back next year.
You guys are more than welcome to come on. I think we're around 2 hours at this point now.
Man.
So it's probably a good time to finish up.
Yeah, and you peed and I really pee.
Do you need to pee?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah.
So I usually finish on a couple of questions, but I've already asked Brian these.
Yes.
So,
shit. So just me?
Yes.
No.
Wait,
did it. So
no.
Favorite podcast you've ever been on? No, favorite
PV.
Favorite
Is that yours?
PV.
It's not even the right name.
Oh shit. I got it wrong. PV?
I'm not asking you these questions. Whatever you do, don't go see LadyBeard in the last 2 days.
It's alright.
2 days. 2 days. Two more shows.
Your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my god, I'm so bad at these. Favorite movie of all time. Maybe
Have you been asked this before?
No. Oh, yeah, maybe on a date, and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
What's the right answer?
I'm not very good at watching movies.
What do you watch over and over
Moulin
again?
Rouge, maybe I love Moulin Rouge.
Oh, Moulin Rouge, good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie. Yeah, I like
You're definitely showing your age now.
I like that. The can scene.
The songs are all good.
Not seen it ever.
Because
so.
you can. I love that bit.
Okay.
No.
You never seen it?
Ewan McGregor, not seen it yet. No.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Because you don't like Ewan McGregor.
No, I love him. Hello there.
That was.
I'm a big Star Wars fan.
That was him. All right.
Yeah.
I would watch it. It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like sad movies as well. You just cry.
Sad movies. You like crying, don't you?
I love crying.
Don't get it. To be honest.
You're smiling weirdly
I try
when
to
you say
avoid
that.
life.
I know, because it's like, what? Well,
That's the drama student in her
Isn't it?
being like, I love crying.
Good cry.
I just do it 2 times on stage because I love it.
Yeah.
Channel the misery.
Try and make me cry.
Couldn't be.
That could be like a bit on stage. Like be like, everyone try and make me cry.
He's writing your material now.
Yes.
And I get 15%.
What was your favourite movie?
Like, what did I tell you?
Yeah, like it's like, what did I say? That
I had someone tell me Forrest Gump, and I was
No, it
like,
wasn't me. I didn't say Forrest Gump.
calm down, Shaggy.
Things to do in Denver when you're dead, I think, was one I enjoyed.
That's a good one.
Big
That's
Lebowski
amazing.
is not a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Big Lebowski. Yeah.
It's a great movie, yeah.
Favorite piece of music that you like all time or heard recently?
These questions.
What are you looking at me for?
Don't let
Again,
him tell. You're so suggestible.
look,
You know that.
crikey.
No, I know. I just honestly.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. Only other butters
no,
can't deny.
maybe like Adele or Beyonce.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Or Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. All the top 10 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'm a bit of a sheep in terms of film and music. I
Bah.
think.
Okay.
But
and
like
a book.
house music, techno. I don't know. Like
I love.
everything.
Yeah, techno.
The house is nice.
Having a house is nice.
Having a house is
Wouldn't
lovely.
know.
I wouldn't know though, but yeah.
Comedian.
My mum and dad's house is
Scottish.
Nice.
Parents gotta die sometime. Hey.
Favorite book apart from.
Oh no. See, this is why I feel like I'm not an intellectual.
But you don't have to be. Just one that you've
I
read.
hate this, like books, movies,
You
and film.
don't have to be intellectual to
Or just
read
like
a book.
Harry Potter and Twilight
Right.
and mindfulness books.
Mindfulness book.
Yeah, like
That's
The Power of
arguably a
Now
more
by
in-
Eckhart Tolle, very good.
Yes.
I'm not an
read that.
And
intellectual
that's
and you
literally
like The
they're
Power of Now.
all the books I've
Did you
ever
pass
read
it on?
is Harry Potter, Twilight, and The Power of Now.
Did you pass it on?
Yeah.
That's mental. You're just sitting there going, oh, I feel like I'm not intellectual. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
No.
Unbelievable.
I just don't know. I just
I
feel,
read like
always
half
feel
it.
so
I was like
stupid when people ask me
I read
these
like The Power of,
questions.
I'll finish it one day.
Yeah.
I think The Power,
Power
of Now
of-
is like I think The Power of Now
Squirrel.
is
Power
like
later.
our Bible these days. Like I think it
Cheese
is like the
sandwich.
Bible.
Power of Sunday.
Favorite quote.
Oh my God! All the world's a stage is on my wrist. It's Shakespeare,
Ah,
and I think we are all
Shaking
acting
Spears.
at all times.
Really?
All the world's a stage.
That's a
Well, if you know
very
the whole quote, it's like all the world's a stage, but the men and women are merely players.
okay.
I could
Struts and frets 6 hour upon a stage, which I think is.
I could never read that on her arm, so now I'm glad I know what it says.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a joke where I just tell everyone it says, take out the bins, which is very helpful to me.
On that note, we should leave on take out
Take
the
out
bins.
the bins.
I have to take
Never
out these
forget,
2
your tattoos
bins.
mean a lot to you.
So if
No,
you want
take
to,
out this bin, I'm only going to pee.
if you want to, if you want to check out LadyBeard for the last couple of days,
Yeah.
2 days.
promote.
2 days of
There it
LadyBeard,
is. You give
hair
it.
splittingly funny split show of 2 of Ireland's up and coming comics.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? It was alright, wasn't it?
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah,
You enjoyed
stop
it, yeah.
Yeah.
2
Come
more
see
days.
us.
2
Just
more
let's
days.
get
Two
drunk.
more
Kilderkin
days.
venue 2 to 7, 6:15. 2 more days. 2 more
25th
shows.
Two more
26th.
days.
Yeah, that's all
And
you've got
it's
left.
only £5, correct?
Yeah, £5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
£5 and
£7.50 if you think we're worth it.
yeah, whatever you want. You can put 100 quid in a bucket if you feel like it.
Oh,
Well, please come. No, it's good. It's a good show.
Okay.
And anybody listening abroad, we will be in Galway at the Galway Vodafone Comedy Carnival in October, individually and bringing LadyBeard as well. So it'll be nice if anybody is in Ireland or visiting, come to Galway. Come see us. Be fun.
and yourself, do you want to promote any social medias?
If you want to follow me and me not washing my hair, it's Anna Cliff Comedy on all platforms.
And I'm at Brian Gallagher, Gallahad. Brian Gallagher.
And you've heard it there. LadyBeard's on tour is obviously going to be coming to your town if you want it enough.
Yeah,
And that's a great-
it's in demand.
It's a great note to finish on, and thank you so much for coming on. It's been a
Thanks
great
so
episode.
much. Thank
Ciao.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.